What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 2PS Chapter 36. The realism has improved again. Second more please collect flowers tickets. Chapter 36. Realism increases again. Second update, seeking collection of fresh flower votes. Bang. Saitama threw a punch, and the space in front of him instantly cleared. Blood splattered, and the faces of many pirates were filled with astonishment, while the soldiers of the Marines were filled with fanaticism, shouting Saitama's name. Saitama Rear Admiral! Saitama Rear Admiral! Saitama Rear Admiral! The pirates were shocked. Saitama? Is it the Marine Rear Admiral who chased after Uchiha Madara? In fact, news of Saitama chasing after Uchiha Madara had long been spread, but most pirates treated it as a joke. Uchiha Madara? But he defeated a Marine Admiral, so why would a Rear Admiral chase after him? However, Saitama's fearsome reputation suddenly spread across the sea. One punch, and another punch, whether it was a powerful bounty hunter or a famous pirate in the New World, every time he threw a punch, he completely obliterated his opponent. He didn't chase after pirates indiscriminately, but specifically targeted those with cruel personalities. With a silly and cute expression, coupled with the power of his punch, he instantly became famous, the Marine Supernova, Saitama. It seems like the title of Bald Cape Hero hasn't spread widely yet. Zhao Xu looked at the terrified pirates around him and sighed inwardly. Well, Saitama's title in the Hero Association is Bald Cape Hero. Although Zhao Xu didn't like this title, he had no choice but to prepare to adopt it for himself. Advertisement unfortunately, even though he tried to spread rumors through his clones, this title hadn't gained much recognition yet. Saitama still maintained that silly and cute expression, while the soldiers of the Marines, led by Dashigi, swarmed out and arrested the pirates. Under the intimidation of the leader being killed with a single punch, there were not many capable of resisting. And with each performance, Zhao Xu's template was rapidly improving. Host. Zhao Xu. Possessing character templates. 1. Uchiha Madara, 71%. 2. Saitama, 55%. The improvement of Uchiha Madara has reached a level close to its peak. Currently, the Mangekyo Sharingan has evolved into the Rinnegan, and both the Wood style and the Sage mode have reached their peak in terms of eye power. The Yin-Yang release is also the same. The only remaining gap is becoming a 10 Tails Jinchuriki. But it is enough to sweep everything. However, the Saitama template is different from the Uchiha Madara template, as it does not have such a significant improvement in skills. But power, speed, endurance, and so on, are rapidly increasing. Based on the bottomless strength of the original Saitama Demon King, the current Saitama is definitely a variety of strong opponents. Zhao Xu feels that the strength of the Saitama template is already close to the Uchiha Madara template. Of course, both templates have their own advantages. Although Saitama is strong, it is only strong in terms of data, while Uchiha Madara has various skills, especially in support. Saitama has arranged Uchiha Madara's clone technique very well indeed. Gathering intelligence, finding suitable scenes to show off, and promoting the title of Bald Cape Hero. Suddenly, Saitama squints his eyes, advertisement. And at this moment, the little girl Tashigi also walks over with a sword named Shigur that is almost as tall as her. Currently, the deputy assigned by the naval headquarters has not arrived yet. It seems that Zephyr is considering the possibility of the deputy having an impact on Saitama's prestige. So the plan is to suppress for a while and send someone later. Therefore, Tashigi is currently in charge of the warship. Although Tashigi is young, has a low rank, and is not strong, Saitama trusts her very much and has entrusted her with many important tasks. She has natural talent and her strength has been rapidly improving as she has experienced a series of battles with Saitama. Saitama Rear Admiral, the pirates have been captured. Tashigi wipes the sweat from her forehead and softly asks, what should we do next? The little girl is not yet mature, but her slender legs, slim waist, and occasionally causing some cute problems make people really like her. If it weren't for Saitama always having that dead fisheye expression, rumors like, Saitama Rear Admiral loves little girls, might have spread. Is that so? Are there any extremely evil pirates nearby? Saitama says absent-mindedly. Yes, according to Marine Intelligence, there is a group of pirates called Belize near Boyu Island with a bounty of 130 million. Tashigi thinks for a moment and says, there is an underground black market group called the Xuanzi family on New Ming Island. There is also. Saitama listens absent-mindedly, thinks for a moment, and says, let's go to New Ming Island first. Yes. Tashigi nods and turns to arrange the route, but a strange thought flashes through her mind. In the past, Saitama Rear Admiral would choose the closest one, right? Zhao Xu squints his eyes and watches Tashigi busy. Just now, a clone disappeared. At the same time, it also brought some information. The Celestial Dragon's Heavenly Gold is about to pass through this sea area, and the underground forces on New Ming Island seem to be investigating the Heavenly Gold's route. At the same time, in the distance, the Donquixote family also seems to be showing some unusual activity. Chapter 37 Heavenly Gold and the Donquixote family. Chapter 37. Heavenly Gold and the Donquixote family, third update, seeking collection of fresh flower tickets. Doflamingo has recently been planning a major scheme, how to become a Shichibukai. To become a Shichibukai, one must first have strength and reputation. Doflamingo is definitely a dominant figure, with charisma, loyal brothers, and the foresight of a penultimate. His reputation as Joker is not low in the underworld. He has also eliminated countless pirates and marines. Although he doesn't have any notable achievements like directly confronting the four emperors, his strength has been proven to a certain extent. In theory, it is only natural and reasonable for him to become a Shichibukai. Under normal circumstances, as long as he plans carefully, there shouldn't be any problems. However, a problem has arisen. With the appearance of Uchiha Madara, the reputation of the Marines has plummeted, and the pirates in the Grand Line have become more powerful. This has forced the Marines to expedite the establishment of the Shichibukai. The previous Shichibukai who were revoked naturally don't need to be concerned about, but the remaining spots need to be filled as soon as possible to suppress the chaos in the Grand Line together with the Marines. Doflamingo is naturally a hero of his generation, but there is no shortage of heroes on the sea. In the New World, there are several strong individuals with reputations and strength similar to Doflamingo's, and some are even stronger. Some have even fought against the four emperors, and their reputation is stronger than Doflamingo's, who is still considered young. The first thing Admiral Sengoku, the Fleet Admiral of the Marines, considers is those individuals. When the undercover spy in the Marines relayed this information to Doflamingo, he immediately decided to start planning. Attack Heavenly Gold. He has spies, he himself was originally a celestial dragon, and he has a network of connections. Once a decision is made, it is swiftly executed. And so, advertisement like a pink swan sailing in the wind, with a swan head wearing sunglasses as the figurehead and a Jolly Roger with a smiling face as the pirate flag, they continuously bombard the marine warships. Ha ha ha, Heavenly Gold, shouldn't this belong to me, a celestial dragon? Doflamingo laughs heartily, opening his arms, his eyes filled with madness. That's right, young master is right, Treybold chuckles. Pika's sharp voice resounds, for young master's plan, you Marines will die here. Escorting Heavenly Gold is Rear Admiral Katter. Damn, how did this happen? Rear Admiral Katter, although he advanced to Rear Admiral by attaching himself to the Celestial Dragons, still possesses some strength. However, he is completely unable to stop the attacks from the Donquixote family. Has the message for reinforcements been sent? Rear Admiral Katter organizes the gunners to counterattack while shouting loudly. It has been sent. Our troops have responded, but it will take time for them to arrive. The communication soldier hastily replies, his subordinates busy sending out requests for reinforcements. Rear Admiral Katter grits his teeth. In reality, he knows that requesting reinforcements is useless. This is the Grand Line, and the surrounding marine forces are not that strong. Even if some reinforcements were to come, can they defeat the Donquixote family? These people are quite formidable. Soon, Rear Admiral Katter is sent flying by a punch from Pika, blood spraying from his mouth. Very well, prepare to transport our treasures, Doflamingo reveals a smile. Doflamingo, marine warships have been spotted ahead. Diamante stands on the lookout tower and shouts loudly. Marines? Doflamingo furrows his brow. He calculated correctly, the surrounding marines shouldn't have arrived yet. So he asks, which marine is it? Advertisement. The codename is HS2. HS2? Doflamingo is momentarily stunned, then bursts into laughter. What's wrong, Doflamingo? Do you know this codename? Treybold curiously asks. Well, I do. Doflamingo laughs heartily. HS1 was originally Garp's codename. When he was chasing after Roger, he used this codename, which means Marine Special Operations Unit Number 1. So HS2. Everyone is momentarily stunned, then smiles appear on their faces. Is it that guy who Marine used to salvage their reputation, the lucky kid named Saitama? Indeed, how lucky. He joined the Marines just a few months ago and quickly rose to the position of Rear Admiral. If it weren't for the man named Uchiha Madara dealing a heavy blow to the Marines' reputation, he wouldn't have been promoted so quickly. And even chasing after Uchiha Madara, it was just a card played by the Marines to salvage their reputation. Members of the Donquixote family burst into disdainful laughter, their gazes directed towards the warship. As expected, in front of the warship, they soon see a shiny bald head. Uchiha Madara, able to defeat 5 admirals head-on, break through the encirclement of numerous vice-admirals, how formidable. Even I wouldn't dare to provoke him. Doflamingo reveals a sinister smile, but a Marine Rear Admiral. Hey, do you think if I take down this Marine supernova, Marine will immediately grant me a Shichibukai position? Chapter 38 If you apologize, take advantage of the present, the first update asks for collection of flowers. Chapter 38. Apologize now, first update, please collect and give flowers and votes. The Shichibukai need reputation and strength in order to deter pirates. Without strength, how can one gain reputation? Of course, by causing trouble. Of course, causing trouble also varies in severity. Someone like Uchiha Madara, for example, is absolutely impossible to recruit as a Shichibukai. The crimes he committed were too great. Similarly, the 4 emperors are the same. Of course, they don't need the title of Shichibukai either. But Doflamingo does. Although Doflamingo has some reputation, it mainly exists in the underground. He is like a king in the darkness, So his reputation for deterring pirates on the surface is relatively weaker compared to the other candidates. At this stage, he is still lacking a bit. This is one of the reasons why Sengoku has not chosen Doflamingo as a Shichibukai. So, let's establish my reputation. Doflamingo laughed strangely, opened his arms, and leapt into the air. Then, he flew in the sky. This is the origin of his title, Heavenly Yaksha. Oh, isn't this the Marine Supernova? If you surrender honestly, we can also reduce the damage you receive, hee. Doflamingo landed on Saitama's warship, revealing his iconic smile. Who is he? Saitama blinked his eyes and asked with a silly expression. Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo, with a bounty of 340 million berries. Toshigi hesitated for a moment and said. Then, she looked at Doflamingo with a subtle gaze. Is he asking Saitama, a rear admiral, to surrender? Oh. Saitama was stunned for a moment, then looked at him with that silly expression and said, Are you strong? Are you so sure you can defeat me? Doflamingo's laughter grew even louder. Am I strong? Of course, I am. Do you think you have the qualifications to chase after Uchiha Madara? Saitama. Advertisement at this moment, the other members of the Donquixote family gave up escorting the ship carrying heavenly gold in the sky. They used various means and stood in front of Saitama. Their people had already dealt with the escort ship in the sky, and the remaining matters could be handled by ordinary members. Hee hee hee. A group of people emitted a cold-killing intent, with a sneer on their faces, staring at Saitama. Gladius snorted angrily, HMPH, don't surrender. I haven't warmed up yet. Surrender? Toshigi, the leading marine soldier, was taken aback, and then they all showed a strange expression. Seeing the expressions of the Donquixote family members, it didn't seem like they were going to resist. But it also didn't seem like they were surrendering. Diamante coldly snorted and drew his sword. Since Doflamingo has allowed you to surrender, as long as you surrender, I will protect your safety. But if you don't surrender. In the next second, he swung his sword fiercely, and a sword light slashed through the ship's deck. Crack. The ship's mast was instantly cut in half, and the entire surface became as smooth as a mirror. Haha, this is what you get for not surrendering. Before he could finish his sentence, a fist wearing plastic gloves suddenly struck. Bang. Diamante's upper body was hit by that punch, completely turning into minced meat. Saitama's forehead formed a, well, shape. Hey, you owe me for the ship's mast. Diamante, dead. In an instant, the members of the Donquixote family's faces changed drastically. One punch? Diamante died from just one punch? This was a powerful fighter with a bounty of 9,900,000? Moreover, Doflamingo was highly skilled, and the bounties of the Donquixote family members generally did not match their strength. Ordinary pirates with bounties of 1 or 2 billion might not necessarily be able to match Diamante. Advertisement, but in front of Saitama, just one punch. How is this possible? Pika exclaimed sharply, what is this man? How is it not possible? Toshigi snorted disdainfully. Saitama Rear Admiral just punched and killed a pirate named Boro with a bounty of 1,900,000,000 yesterday. Is it strange that he killed someone with less than a billion bounty like you? Without the strength to kill anyone with just one punch, why would Garp and the others give Saitama the title of Rear Admiral? Why would Toshigi and the others worship Saitama so much? Do you really think it's all because of Marine's needs and the propaganda department's manipulation? Not good. Doflamingo instantly broke out in a cold sweat. Defeating Diamante was nothing, he himself could defeat Diamante. But to kill Diamante with just a casual punch, the 4 emperors, it seems they are nothing special either? But before he could say anything, the members of the Donquixote family suddenly made their move. You be asterisk 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 D. How dare you kill Diamante? For the sake of our family. The relatively young Baby 5 and Buffalo couldn't help but launch their attacks. Wait, stop. Doflamingo suddenly woke up and exclaimed. Then, he instinctively looked towards Saitama, but there was no one there. The next second, he turned his head to look. He saw Saitama inserting Baby 5 and Buffalo into the ground in an upside-down manner. Really, you dared to attack my ship's mast? Saitama glanced at Baby 5 and Buffalo, who were stuck in the ground, then looked at Doflamingo and sighed. Well, let's put jokes aside. His gaze was very calm. You guys, apologize now. Chapter 39 Heavenly Yaksha surrenders. Second more please collect flowers tickets. Chapter 39. Heavenly Yaksha surrenders. Second update, please collect flowers and votes. You guys, apologize now. Plain words, lazy expression. But it brought a strong pressure, however, the Donquixote family is experienced in countless battles, and most importantly. How dare you kill Diamante? A sharp voice rang out, and Pika's face showed anger. Doflamingo's expression changed, about to speak, but Pika suddenly reached out and pressed down. At the same time, several reefs rose from the sea surface and were thrown up violently. In the next second, Pika grabbed the reefs, and they instantly turned into a liquid state, like armor, enveloping his entire body. The stone fruit allows the user to assimilate with the rocks they come into contact with, incorporating the appearance, hardness, and other properties of the rocks into their own power. The ability user who receives the power of the rocks can transform into a massive stone giant for attack. Obviously, he knew the characteristics of his own ability, and it was difficult to find usable stones on the sea surface. Therefore, he had arranged ordinary members to hide underwater early on, always ready to throw up reefs and turn them into his weapons. Even if the ability user who assimilated with the rocks had their body shattered, they could regenerate, making them the strongest member of the Donquixote family in terms of defense. With such an ability, even Saitama wouldn't be able to kill him with just one punch, right? Dancing stone. Pika's sharp voice rang out, and his huge body suddenly burst out with spikes made of 8 rocks, stabbing towards Saitama. His speed wasn't fast, but the ability of the stone fruit allowed him to launch multiple attacks at the same time. 8 spikes, 4 times the attack frequency of an ordinary person. Stab. 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 Countless large and sharp stone pillars came stabbing, but Saitama still had that silly and cute expression. He turned, twisted, and jumped. Advertisement his movements didn't resemble a fighting stance at all, but he easily evaded all the attacks. And then, bang! Saitama took a step forward, approached, and clenched his plastic-gloved hand into a fist. Consecutive normal punches. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, his fist seemed to multiply into dozens, all striking at once. And then, boom! The entire stone giant was completely shattered by his punches. Blood splattered, and Pika inside didn't even have a chance to say a word before being completely obliterated. Pika himself wouldn't turn into stone, but his true body would hide within the rocks. Therefore, it was ineffective to shatter or cut the ability user who assimilated with the rocks. One had to directly defeat the ability user who controlled the rocks. But Saitama's attacks completely ignored the distinction between the true body and the rock, smashing them all with one punch. Plop. The rocks fell and landed on the ground, becoming the only sound on the warship. Saitama had an expressionless face, and then, he glanced at Doflamingo. We surrender. Doflamingo's body stiffened. Without saying a word, he raised his hands. Young master. Dafi. The members of the Donquixote family stared in astonishment at their leader. We surrender. Trebol, put down your staff. Everyone, drop your weapons. We surrender. Doflamingo shouted loudly, his eyes under the sunglasses filled with endless fear. Not surrendering meant death. It would really mean death. Advertisement, damn it, he was just a foolish-looking guy. Why was he so strong? To think that Marine had created something like him just for publicity. But no matter what, it had nothing to do with him. Doflamingo could only obediently raise his hands, wearing a bitter smile. And so, the battle ended. Under Doflamingo's command, the Donquixote family surrendered completely. Tashigi, accustomed to such situations, calmly took out sea-stone handcuffs from the cabin and put them on one by one. They would probably be sent to the deep-sea prison next. Doflamingo didn't care either. He had connections within the world government, and with proper operation, he might be able to escape. Compared to the calamity of imprisonment, life and death were the bigger issues. However, does this kid have a bounty too? Saitama thought for a moment, pointing at Baby 5, who was stuck on the deck like a leak. Huh? Tashigi was taken aback and immediately started searching the bounty list. Report, Rear Admiral, she doesn't have a bounty. Oh, then don't send her to prison. Saitama thought for a moment and said, it's not good for a child to go to prison, it's easy to leave a stain. Let her stay on our ship for now and give her a chance to reform. Upon hearing this, Tashigi was instantly filled with admiration. Indeed, Rear Admiral Saitama was kind-hearted and righteous. Saitama himself didn't think much of it. He glanced at the members of the defeated Donquixote family, then looked at the distant ship. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes, which didn't match his usual image. A heavenly Yaksha escort ship. There should be a devil fruit, right? Chapter 40 Uchiha Madara attacks Heavenly Gold. The third change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 40. Uchiha Madara attacks the Heavenly Gold. Third update, seeking collection of fresh flower votes. In reality, even if Doflamingo surrenders, Saitama cannot immediately continue his journey. His warship was cut by Diamante's sword, the warship's bridge was severed, which has already affected their ability to set sail. However, the greatest advantage of the marine forces is that they have their own bases in various seas. Under the efforts of soldiers led by Tashigi, the warship is being towed by Doflamingo's ship, which has the least damage, towards the marine G-13 fortress. Of course, the escort ship for the Heavenly Gold is also being towed along. I really have to thank you all this time. Kataru's head is wrapped in bandages, and he breathes a sigh of relief. I never expected there would be an attack on the Heavenly Gold. The Heavenly Gold is the treasure that the world government's affiliated countries offer to the Celestial Dragons every year. All 170 affiliated countries will hand over the treasure to the Marine's escort ship, which will deliver the Heavenly Gold to the Holy Land Marijoy. Robbing the Heavenly Gold? Of course, it's possible. As long as you can bear the consequences of being relentlessly pursued by the Marine. Kadaro scolds the members of the Donquixote family who obediently surrendered. These bastards, aren't they afraid of being pursued by the Marine? If they hadn't all been locked up in the prison on the warship, he would have kicked them all. Saitama glances at him. Of course, he's not afraid. Doflamingo is a celestial dragon, while the Marine is subordinate to the celestial dragons. Subordinates rising above their superiors, this is a serious crime anywhere. So, the Marines' pursuit? They can pursue, but they can't kill him. The most likely outcome is a compromise, appointing him as a Shichibukai. Of course, this is also Doflamingo's goal. By the way, Rear Admiral Saitama, Kadaro coughs, regarding our cooperation in capturing the Donquixote family, how about we report it together? Cooperate? Tashiji's expression changes. Cooperate? When did we cooperate? Advertisement clearly, we went to save you, otherwise you would have died long ago. How dare you shamelessly talk about cooperation, truly shameless. Kadaro also knows that his behavior is not good, but he has no other choice. The escort ship has been damaged to the point where it probably can't sail without repairs. Even if they change ships, it will be a huge hassle. And he himself has been beaten like this, he might be criticized by his superiors. To gain a little credit from Saitama is also unavoidable. Isn't it normal for a newcomer like you to cooperate with an old-timer like me? Kadaro smiles. As a senior, I will guide you on what to do next. If it doesn't work, then don't blame him for being impolite. It's just a matter of writing the report skillfully. After all, he also participated in the battle, which is an undeniable fact. If Saitama doesn't agree, he plans to emphasize the theme of, I am the leader, and I use others for my own benefit, in the report to be submitted to the Marine. For example, when I was in a difficult situation with the Donquixote family, Saitama came and took advantage of the situation. And then he completely tarnished his reputation using his connections in the Marines. Oh, Saitama looked dumbfounded, as if he had no idea what Kader was talking about. You just have to agree, let's settle it like this. Kader waved his hand. I can write your report for you later. With that, he walked back confidently. He still had to think about how to write the report. Saitama Rear Admiral, are you just going to let him erase your achievements? Tashigi couldn't help but speak up after Kader left. Well, he did take action. Saitama still had a dumb and cute expression. But, Tashigi bit her lip and ultimately didn't say what she wanted to say. The speed of ship repairs was fast, especially with the elite soldiers of the Marines working together. Advertisement perhaps individual ship repair workers couldn't compare to someone like Frankie, but the ship repair workers at the Marine base were not just a few, but dozens or even hundreds of people. With their cooperation, the ships were quickly repaired. During this time, Saitama had captured quite a few pirates, and with the addition of the Donquixote family, the prison on the ship was almost full. Under Tashiji's command, the numerous pirate prisoners were escorted to the Marine base's prison, and with the manpower and time arranged by the naval headquarters, they were sent to the deep-sea prison. Of course, the most important thing was the escort ship, and in order to obtain the treasures inside the ship, the Donquixote family didn't go too hard on the escort ship. So Kader set sail ahead of Saitama. It's really easy. Kader smiled. That bald guy is strong, but so easy to deal with. The Donquixote family had been hunted by the Marines for a long time, but there had been no progress. Even the Chief of Staff Crane personally took action, but couldn't catch Doflamingo himself. Now, he easily took such a big advantage. Maybe he could go from Rear Admiral to Vice Admiral. It looks like I'll have to cooperate more with that bald guy in the future. Kader laughed heartily. Taking credit. No, this is the friendly guidance of an old senior to a junior. He will definitely be grateful. Suddenly, a communication soldier ran over in a panic. Rear Admiral Kader. Something bad happened, we're under attack. An enemy? Kader frowned, stood up with a determined look, and said proudly, who is so bold? Doesn't he know that I just captured the heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo? In just a moment, he had already become the one who captured Doflamingo. It's. The communication soldier had a mournful face. It's Uchiha Madara. Chapter 41. What a big joke. The first one is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 41 is really a huge joke. First update, please collect fresh flower tickets. Uchiha Madara. It took a while for Kader to react and understand what the communication soldier was saying. His face instantly turned pale, and he hurriedly ran out of the cabin. Sure enough, he immediately saw that man standing on top of a giant, as if he were a god. Uchiha Ban. Kader felt his legs trembling. This is not a character that can be compared to someone like Doflamingo. Killing celestial dragons, defeating 5 admirals, leaving proudly without anyone daring to stop him. But why is he here to find me? What are you doing here? Kader trembled, trying to draw his sword but couldn't. Isn't this the ship that delivers things to celestial dragons? Uchiha Madara chuckled lightly. And you're asking me what I'm doing here? Yes, in everyone's understanding, Uchiha Ban has a great grudge against celestial dragons. Didn't you see the title Marine gave Uchiha Madara? Isn't he the Avenger? He attacked the escort ship that was delivering money to celestial dragons. What's the problem? There's absolutely no problem. Kader's body trembled. If he hadn't known that he would be killed by celestial dragons even if he ran back to Marine after losing the golden ball in the sky, he might have abandoned the ship and fled. And now, damn Saitama, it's all your fault. Kader cursed in his heart. Weren't you shouting to chase and kill Uchiha Madara? Now that he's here, where are you? You useless piece of trash. What use are you? He cursed fiercely in his heart, but it didn't solve any problems. Fighting, it's probably impossible to win. So let's just try to intimidate him with a show of force. Maybe there's still hope. Hey, Uchiha Madara, Kader put on a fierce look and shouted, "You finally came. Advertisement. Meeting you here is your doomsday. Let the Rear Admiral who just dealt with the Donquixote family take care of you." The Donquixote family is quite famous, even in the New World. Their power is enough to dominate a region. And because of Doflamingo's superb methods, their underground influence spreads throughout the Grand Line. Even newcomers who have just entered the New World know their reputation to some extent. With his strength of capturing the Donquixote family, he might be able to avoid fighting Uchiha Madara. However, when he said this, he found that Uchiha Madara's expression suddenly became strange. After a long change in expression, he finally uttered a sigh. You're quite interesting." Then, the sharp sword of the complete body Susanoo suddenly slashed out. In an instant, it cut through the entire ship. The power of the complete body Susanoo was terrifying. The battle was almost over in an instant. "Huh, you're really lucky." Uchiha Madara was stunned when he saw the shockwave he had cut out, now floating in a remote corner of the sea. Then, in an instant, he appeared next to Kader. You. Kader's face was filled with fear. Could it be that he won't spare him? The next second, his pupils dilated, showing an expression of disbelief. Although this behavior doesn't quite fit Uchiha Madara's character, but I couldn't help but watch your performance. The first half of the sentence was filled with towering arrogance. But the next second, his words became lazy and dumbfounded. Because it wasn't just the words that changed, but Saitama. Kader almost exclaimed. What did he see? Uchiha Madara, radiating haki, suddenly transformed into the dumb and cute Saitama right in front of him? Saitama, who was responsible for chasing and killing Uchiha Madara. In other words, Advertisement Marine is really a huge joke. No, not just Marine, but himself. He actually used Saitama's achievements to intimidate himself? In Kader's eyes, there was a hint of fear. He subconsciously wanted to shout out this information, to let the surviving soldiers spread this news to naval headquarters. But, the next second, his throat was pierced by Uchiha Madara's sword, and he couldn't make a sound. At the same time, in this remote corner where he was stranded, no one would see him. And there would be no soldiers left alive. The battle ended, and it was a battle without suspense. Zhao Xu's actions were steady. Even though Saitama's face was exposed along the way, he only acted after confirming with Uchiha Madara's perception that there was no one around who saw him. Then, he killed all the soldiers just in case, ensuring that there were no loose ends. Then he began the salvage work. The golden treasures truly lived up to being wealth specifically meant for celestial dragons. Gold, silver, jewelry, gemstones. Countless treasures were piled up in the cabin, and every single one of them was a top-quality item. And his most important target. Zhao Xu looked at the several fruits with unique patterns in the box, and a hint of excitement flashed in his eyes. System. Absorb. Chapter 42. Why is Nico Robin here? Second more, please collect flowers tickets. Chapter 42. How did Nico Robin end up here? Second update, seeking collection and flower votes. Host. Zhao Xu. Character templates. 1. Uchiha Madara, 72%. 2. Saitama, 63%. This time, there are a total of 13 devil fruits in the sky gold, bringing a 6% increase to Zhao Xu's power. It can be said that his strength has once again soared. Unfortunately, whether it's Saitama or Uchiha Madara, it's already difficult to further improve at this level. Zhao Xu sighed in his heart, but this is also a happy trouble. With Saitama's increasing abilities, his strength has already vaguely touched Saitama's original power. It should be noted that the original Saitama easily annihilated the cosmic overlord Boros, who was capable of destroying the Earth, without using his full power. There aren't many devil fruits in the sky gold, at least not matching its reputation. Because the essence of the sky gold is tribute, and devil fruits, unless they are ordinary abilities, can be sold at prices far exceeding the market value. Although there aren't many devil fruits, there is plenty of other wealth. Pearls the size of fists, diamonds as numerous as sand, and gold coins everywhere. Zhao Xu didn't hesitate and directly took out a long scroll, collecting everything into it. The storage scroll is a specialty of the Hokage world, capable of sealing items inside. As a top expert in the Hokage world, Uchiha Madara may not be a grandmaster, but he can still make these things. It's fortunate that he can make these storage scrolls, otherwise, Zhao Xu wouldn't know how to take away all the wealth here. Advertisement. I don't know how much wealth is here, but there must be at least 5 billion, right? A smile appeared on Zhao Xu's lips. There are already 13 devil fruits alone, with a minimum market value of 1.3 billion, not to mention the others. 5 billion represents 50 devil fruits, the minimum level of power. If they are all absorbed into the system, Uchiha Madara and Saitama would probably reach their peak period. After all, the peak period is only 80% of the realistic level. Going beyond that would be surpassing the peak period. So, Saitama is almost there too. It's time to change identities. Zhao Xu narrowed his eyes. Considering the explosive nature of battles, the chakra consumption of clones is very fast. So, on Saitama's side, he had already arranged more than a dozen clones early on. Wood-style clones can be maintained for a long time as long as they don't engage in combat. A dozen clones are enough for a considerable period of time. After all, There aren't many people who can force clones to fight at full power. As for Zhao Xu himself, he grabbed the storage scroll filled with wealth. Let's liquidate these things first. Liquidation is a necessary means of survival for pirates. After all, you can't let pirates spend the gold they plunder. They also need to use belly in their daily lives. There are more and more pirates in the Grand Line, and finding better ways to liquidate is also a kind of knowledge. Black market merchants collect loot from pirates at specific locations, and these specific locations often attract a large number of pirates. For example, the lawless area of Subduing Archipelago is one such location for liquidation. Advertisement. Unfortunately, due to Uchiha Madara's actions, the Marines swept through Subduing Archipelago, severely impacting the black market trade on the island. Even now, it has not recovered. So, Zhao Xu chose another island. Hannibal. This is a lively island, where most of the residents are retired pirates or descendants of pirates, making the island quite enthusiastic. There are even competitions specifically prepared for pirates. At the same time, as a gathering place for pirates, there are many black market merchants here who can help pirates liquidate their gains. This time, Zhao Xu used his own appearance. Uchiha Madara is not someone who can negotiate with merchants. As for Saitama, is he here to exterminate pirates? Of course, Zhao Xu is not very good at bargaining either, but he's still better than those two, right? Perhaps I should find someone who knows the ropes to help. Those black market merchants are used to lowballing prices, and I'm not familiar with these things. Zhao Xu narrowed his eyes. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. A slender woman walked past Zhao Xu not far away. Her skin was slightly tan, draped in a long black robe that concealed her well-proportioned body. She lowered her head and hurriedly walked by, occasionally glancing back. Nico Robin. How is she here? Chapter 43. There is someone above me. The third change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 43. I have someone above me. Third update, seeking collection of fresh flower tickets. In reality, Nico Robin is currently in the midst of fleeing. Or rather, this is her daily life. When Robin was young, her bounty reached a staggering 79 million berries, which is a terrifyingly high bounty for a child. It's not a problem to say that she was the child with the highest bounty. But Robin's strength. The flower fruit is not an especially powerful devil fruit. Her attacks rely solely on the arms she grows, and although they can catch opponents off guard, those arms are still her own. How much strength can a child's arms have? With low combat power and a high bounty, she encountered many people who tried to sell her to the Marines, and even pirates had this tendency. That's nearly 80 million in bounty. Don't be fooled by Zhao Xu robbing heavenly gold once and getting close to 5 billion. That's because of his strength and the fact that he was robbing heavenly gold. Normal pirates, if they can get a few million from robbery, that's already pretty good. 80 million is enough to disband a pirate crew and retire. So over the years, Robin has been living a difficult life, constantly on the run, which has become her daily routine. Robin, where are you? Get the hell out here. A group of pirates wielding knives passed by, fierce and ruthless. In a dark corner, Robin pressed herself against the wall, hiding her body as much as possible in the darkness, only revealing her exquisite figure faintly. She tried to suppress her breathing, but her expression remained calm and composed, clearly accustomed to these days of hiding and seeking. Sigh. I have to change ships again. Although she shares some common language with pirates and bounty criminals like herself, her weak strength makes it difficult for her to create any benefits for pirate crews. And the reputation of being the devil's child is too loud. Once she is discovered on a ship, it will immediately attract the pursuit of the Marines. It seems that the captain of this pirate ship couldn't stand the influence of Robin and decided to hand her over for the bounty. Unfortunately, Robin discovered it in advance. Advertisement. What ship should I change to next? The person chasing me is Hurricane Dora with a bounty of 51 million. At least it has to be someone not much weaker than Hurricane Dora to dare to take me in. After pondering for a moment, Robin finally decided on the next candidate. Ranji Duo Ao, with a bounty of 67 million. In Hanabaru, he is already considered one of the top strong fighters. As for the excuse for joining them, Robin had long prepared it. Ancient weapon. The location of the ancient weapon is recorded in the historical text, and only Robin can decipher it. And the rumored power of the ancient weapon has fascinated countless people. For pirates, it is even more fanatical. It conveniently allows Robin to lead them in pursuit of the historical text. Using this excuse, she successfully joined many pirate crews, such as the previous Hurricane Dora. Just as Robin had anticipated, with the ancient weapon as her calling card, she easily boarded Ranji Duo Ao's ship. This news was not well hidden by her, so it was only natural that Hurricane Dora and his gang came knocking on the door. No problem, Hurricane Dora's bounty is lower than Ranji Duo's. Although my bounty is not low, it's not easy for pirates to get their bounty from the Marines. They will definitely be ripped off by middlemen. He won't fight Ranji Duo to the death for my sake. Robin stood behind Ranji Duo, secretly calculating in her eyes. Hurricane Dora was a slightly weak tall guy, while Ranji Duo was a short and strong man. Robin, is this the next target you've chosen? Hurricane Dora raised his head, a strange look flashing in his eyes. After all, Robin has information about the ancient weapon. It's normal for me to protect her, right? Ranji Duo's mouth curled up, his voice rough. Robin knew the location of the ancient weapon. This news was acknowledged by the world government, which is why such a high bounty was issued. However, Robin tensed up, her emotional intelligence was extremely high, and she felt that something was off about them. Why were pirates and pirates speaking so elegantly when they met? But her ancient weapon is a lie, Hurricane Dora sneered. I protected her for so long, but I haven't even seen a hair of the ancient weapon. Advertisement, is it really a lie? Longidoao turned his head and asked Robin. How is that possible? Robin's heart screamed that something was wrong, but her expression remained calm and indifferent. Hurricane Dora is a pirate. Can we trust a pirate's words? Of course we can. Longidoao suddenly grinned widely. After all, we are brothers. Robin's face changed drastically. Longidoao, Hurricane Dora. Their titles and names were so similar, why did she overlook this issue? Hee. Longidoao, Hurricane Dora grinned ferociously, getting closer and closer. Robin's forehead was covered in cold sweat. She was careless, really careless. Unfortunately, although Robin's bounty was much higher than theirs, her strength. Now the shore was filled with the subordinates of the two pirate crews, and the ship was close to the sea. Robin had nowhere to escape. Hey, big brother, since the Marines only want a live person, should we enjoy ourselves before handing her over to the Marines? Hurricane Dora looked at Robin's exquisite figure and smirked. Of course, but she is the Devil's Child with a bounty of nearly 80 million. Let's break her limbs first before playing with her. Longidoao also revealed a lustful look. Robin stepped back step by step, forced to lean against the edge of the cabin, her face changing continuously. But she had been a fugitive since she was young. She gritted her teeth and came up with a clever plan. Do you dare to lay a hand on me? Do you know that I have someone above me? Oh, who? Longidoao asked. Uchiha Madara, Robin said proudly. Zhao Xu, who was quietly lurking on the ship's deck above Robin. Miss, you're right. I am really above you. Chapter 44. It's my turn today, Zhao Xu, to play tricks. The first one is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 44. It's my turn to show off today, Zhao Xu. First update, please collect and give flowers and votes. Zhao Xu came just to see what the situation with Robin was. With the stealth abilities of a ninja, there was no need to worry about being discovered. So he followed Robin all the way, and finally saw Robin shouting, "There's someone above me." Miss, there really is someone above you, and it's Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara. As soon as these words were spoken, Lanji Duo and Jufeng Duola, the two brothers, were startled. That's Uchiha Madara, the most prominent mysterious powerhouse in recent years. His origins are unknown, but his strength is so great that he can be considered at the pinnacle of the world. As Uchiha Madara's reputation grew, many people researched and investigated information about him. For example, what did the Celestial Dragons do to make Uchiha Madara risk everything to seek revenge in Marijoy? Of course, there are also the people around Uchiha Madara, like his younger brother Zhao Xu, and the powerful individual, Senju Hashirama, mentioned by Uchiha Madara. Even though Wano country is extremely closed off, the Marines and world government have sent many undercover agents. And Uchiha Madara's intentions, of course, have been thoroughly analyzed by government intelligence personnel and various heroes. Such a powerful existence, always hiding his actions, this must be a conspiracy, it must have a purpose. What exactly is his goal? Now, looking at Robin's resolute expression, Lanji Duo and Jufeng Duola couldn't help but have doubts. Could it be that Uchiha Madara's goal is the ancient weapon? Indeed. Only an ancient weapon would be worthy of being targeted by a powerhouse of that level, right? Robin appeared confident on the surface, but her eyes were constantly searching for weaknesses in the encirclement. She didn't know how long she could deceive them, so naturally, she wanted to escape as soon as possible. Advertisement, however, before she could find an escape route, Lanji Duo suddenly spoke up. What evidence do you have to prove that you are Uchiha Madara's subordinate? Evidence? HMPH, Robin pretended to snort disdainfully. Naturally, she had no evidence. But at times like this, the more confident she appeared, the more convincing it would be. Sure enough, Lanji Duo and Jufeng Duo exchanged glances and started to believe her to some extent. However, they believed too much. Their eyes narrowed, and a murderous aura surged. No matter what orders she received from Uchiha Madara, as long as they completely eliminate her, we won't be in danger. After all, no one knows that she has come onto my ship. Oh no, Robin, being so clever, naturally noticed the change in their expressions. Attack together, kill her, and we'll be safe. In an instant, the pirates glared at Robin. It's your bad luck. Who told you to come here while hiding your presence? Lanji Duo sneered coldly, and his machine gun was about to unleash its power. But in the next second, do you want to attack my people? A cold voice with a hint of laughter rang out, and the pirates turned their gazes in the direction of the voice. As soon as they saw the person's face, their expressions changed drastically. Zhao Xu, Uchiha Madara's younger brother. It was written on the bounty posters that anyone who provided information about Uchiha Madara would receive a reward of 1 billion, and anyone who provided information about Zhao Xu would receive a reward of 50 million berries. Advertisement, Zhao Xu. The one with the biggest reaction was Robin. She widened her eyes, and if she hadn't been sure that her memory was not mistaken, she would have doubted whether she was truly Uchiha Madara's subordinate. Zhao Xu revealed a smile as he calmly sat on the edge of the ship's deck, looking down at everyone. The faces of the many pirate lackeys turned anxious. Their pirate crew was not insignificant, but compared to legends like Uchiha Madara, they were nothing. Don't panic. At this moment, Lan Ji Duo, who had the highest bounty, shouted, "Why panic? He's just Zhao Xu, not Uchiha Madara himself. As long as we eliminate him here, how could Uchiha Madara possibly know our information? Charge! Attack together!" Upon hearing his shout, the pirates finally calmed down, gritted their teeth, and rushed towards Zhao Xu. Seeing this, Zhao Xu couldn't help but smile. To make Uchiha Ban and Saitama more believable, he almost always fought while pretending to be the two of them, acting cool and showing off. Today, it was finally his turn. Hearing the shouts of, "He's just Zhao Xu, not Uchiha Madara himself. He can't be too strong," from the pirates, Zhao Xu couldn't help but think with a smile. Zhao Xu is Uchiha Madara, but Uchiha Madara is not Zhao Xu. He possesses all the abilities of Uchiha Madara and Saitama, and he doesn't need to worry about using the wrong template and affecting his acting. From the perspective of strength, he is stronger than Uchiha Madara and Saitama. Zhao Xu revealed a smile. It seems that today is my turn to show off, Zhao Xu. Chapter 45. Let's go, I'll take you to see Uchiha Madara. Chapter 45. Let's go, I'll take you to meet Uchiha Madara. Second update, please collect and vote for flowers. The strength of blood relatives is not necessarily connected. For example, Shanks and Buggy, who have similar backgrounds, have a huge difference in strength. However, most of the time, the blood relatives of the strong are often very strong. For example, among Big Mom's children, there are many powerful individuals. Although we have to consider that they are members of the four emperors, they are wealthy and almost everyone has the ability of a devil fruit, which is why they are so strong. But isn't this also because of Big Mom's influence? Uchiha Madara and Zhao Xu are blood relatives. Although no one has seen Zhao Xu in action, his strength may not be very strong, but he definitely won't be weak. After all, if his talent is lacking, his older brother can just steal a devil fruit for him to eat. Lan Ji Duo and Zhu Feng Duo La brothers naturally understand this principle, but when their subordinates charged forward, they still shouted, "He's just Zhao Xu, not Uchiha Madara himself. Let's all attack and kill him." The lackeys didn't know if they truly believed it or if they were forcing themselves to believe it, but they all picked up their swords and charged forward, howling. Interesting. Zhao Xu revealed a smile and jumped down from the building. He was wearing loose, dark clothes and had a sword hanging from his waist. Zhao Xu's public identity is Uchiha Madara's younger brother, so naturally, he subconsciously imitated Uchiha Aizuna's appearance. Although he didn't need to imitate his personality, he could still dress similarly. Underneath his calm black clothes, there was a hint of arrogance as he looked at the ferocious pirates charging towards him. Robin's expression changed slightly. Although it is highly likely that blood relatives of strong individuals are also strong, it is not impossible for them to be weak. She had never heard of Zhao Xu engaging in combat before, could it be? But the next second, she stood there dumbfounded. In Zhao Xu's eyes, the Mangekyo Sharingan spun, Genjutsu. Advertisement. The pirates charging towards him all froze in their tracks, their expressions becoming extremely stiff. What's going on? What happened? Lan Ji Duo and Zhu Feng Duo La's faces changed drastically. Uchiha's Genjutsu. Robin knew a bit more. It seemed that Uchiha Madara had used similar means to manipulate enemies when invading the Celestial Dragon's palace. But Zhao Xu could also do it. Isn't that a devil fruit ability? The two brothers' expressions turned ugly, but they were still powerful figures in their own right. Without hesitation, they raised their Gatling guns. Go to hell. Bang, 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 bang. The next second, a rain of bullets poured down like a violent storm. Lan Ji Duo and Zhu Feng Duo were truly blood brothers, even their names were similar. Lan and Zhu Feng actually meant something similar. The two Gatling machine guns, each with nearly 1,000 bullets, fired all their ammunition in just 10 seconds, creating a hurricane-like attack. The violent rain of bullets almost instantly covered their subordinates, as well as Zhao Xu and Robin. We're in trouble. Robin's face changed drastically. The flower fruit is highly effective against certain beings, but its defense is quite weak. She herself is just an ordinary person. If she gets hit by these bullets, she will die. But the next second, she saw a hand grabbing her body. It was Zhao Xu. Bang, 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 advertisement. The smoke from the bullets filled the air, obscuring their vision. The violent rain of bullets almost completely destroyed the rear deck in just a few seconds. How about that? Are they dead now? Lan Ji Duo and Zhu Feng Duo gasped for breath. The recoil from firing nearly 1,000 rounds also took a toll on them. However, the next second, their expressions froze. Zhao Xu had a smiling Robin in his arms, unharmed. How is this possible? That was my death Gatling. Nothing is impossible. Zhao Xu had a proud smile on his face. This mindless attack is a curse for those unfortunate enough to not have the Sharingan. The Crimson Sharingan spun. The next second, Lan Ji Duo Ao and Ju Feng Duola were completely engulfed in endless darkness. Robin's eyes were filled with shock. This guy is actually this strong? Just now, in that storm of bullets, he held onto her as if they were dancing, effortlessly dodging them. Not to mention getting injured, their clothes weren't even damaged in the slightest. 10 seconds, 1,000 rounds of bullets, all completely useless. Alright, let's go. Zhao Xu let go of his hand that was holding Robin's slender waist, smiled, and said. Go. Where are we going? Robin instinctively paused. Of course, we're going to find my brother. Zhao Xu revealed a gentle smile. Aren't you supposed to be my brother's subordinate? Robin. Did I just jump out of the frying pan and into the fire? Chapter 46 Class Uchiha. Robin, be my brother's concubine. Chapter 46. Uchiha Squad. Robin, be my little mistress. Third update, seeking collection of fresh flower votes. Walking on the road in Hanabaru, Zhao Xu walked ahead while Robin obediently followed behind. However, those beautiful big eyes kept scanning the surroundings. Damn it, how can I escape? Based on Zhao Xu's display of strength just now, there's no way I can escape. And I even pretended to be Uchiha Madara's subordinate, and now his brother wants to take me to see the boss. An anxious expression appeared on Robin's face, although she had been wandering and hiding for a long time. She really had never had any interaction with someone of Uchiha Madara's level. He's too powerful. If anything goes wrong, she won't even be able to run. What should I do? Robin was full of anxiety. Meanwhile, Zhao Xu in front continued walking, subconsciously glancing at his own hand. He had just touched Robin's waist. It was soft, smooth, and slender. It just so happened that he needed someone who could be resourceful and understand the market to help him buy things. Robin came at the right time. Not only is she pleasing to the eye, but she can also be useful. So, what's next? I'll see how I can deceive her. A barely noticeable smile appeared at the corner of Zhao Xu's mouth. Robin followed Zhao Xu as they turned left and right, quickly arriving at a common house. Zhao Xu was the first to enter, and Robin hesitated for a moment before following. Advertisement Uchiha Madara was someone who surpassed that naive existence. She had no way to escape. Since she couldn't escape, she could only take a gamble. Gritting her teeth, she walked through the door and sure enough, immediately saw that legendary figure. Wearing crimson armor, with long pitch black hair and a rebellious look in his eyes. Uchiha Madara. It was this man who single-handedly infiltrated Marijoy and even resisted 3 admirals, making it impossible for the Marines to stop him. Sometimes Robin couldn't help but marvel at how good it would be if she had Uchiha Madara's power. Then Ohara wouldn't have been destroyed by the Marines' buster call. Why is there someone else? Uchiha Madara, clone, raised his head proudly, glanced at Robin, and then turned to ask Zhao Xu, little brother, who is she? Huh? Isn't she your subordinate? Zhao Xu smiled, his mouth curved, and said, I was curious. When did you have a subordinate that I didn't know about, big brother? Subordinate. Uchiha Madara narrowed his eyes. Then, a chilling aura suddenly burst out. In an instant, Robin felt as if she had fallen into an icy cave. Her legs and hands became extremely stiff, making it difficult for her to move. So this is the power of Uchiha Madara. Hello, my name is Nico Robin, the Devil's Child with a bounty of 79 million. I had no choice but to borrow your reputation. In fact, your reputation alone is enough to intimidate the insignificant. She explained the misunderstanding, expressing objectivity and even a hint of flattery. Robin is still Robin after all. Even in a dangerous situation, she remains articulate and calm. After explaining the misunderstanding, she immediately presents her biggest selling point. I can read ancient texts. If you need it, I can help you find ancient weapons. To ensure that Uchiha Madara understands the power of ancient weapons, Robin specifically explains, ancient weapons existed in ancient times and are 3 weapons with the title of God that can destroy the world. If you want revenge against the celestial dragons, ancient weapons are a rare source of assistance. Robin was also fooled by the Marines. She actually thought Uchiha Madara had a grudge against the celestial dragons. Ancient weapons. Uchiha Madara's eyes showed a hint of disdain. Are they strong? How do they compare to the 10 tails? Advertisement Robin is not familiar with the 10 tails, but she explains, I'm not very familiar with the power of ancient weapons either, but according to records, the Pluton is said to be the most powerful battleship in shipbuilding history. It was once built by the 7 water capitals and can destroy an island with a single shot. Destroy an island with a single shot? Uchiha Madara's eyes showed a trace of curiosity. Yes. Robin nodded. Unfortunately, woman, I don't need that thing. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly. Robin was taken aback, then immediately said, with your status, you are already in opposition to the world government. Ancient weapons would definitely be your best assistance. A single strike that can destroy an island, but I can also destroy an island with a single strike. Uchiha Madara sneered, it seems that ancient weapons don't have much significance. Upon hearing this, Robin's mouth slightly opened, unable to find the right words to say for a while. If his own power is already comparable to that of ancient weapons, why bother pursuing the power of ancient weapons? Woman, the crime of deceiving my brother is quite serious. Uchiha Madara suddenly straightened up, his eyes crimson, and a murderous aura filled the air. You. Robin swallowed her saliva. Could it be that I will meet my end today? So be it. I'm tired of running away, let it end. Robin closed her eyes in despair. You can become my brother's concubine. If you can bear the child of the Uchiha clan, I will spare your life. Wait a minute. Something seems off. Chapter 47, Monkey D. Long. Chapter 47 Monkey D. Dragon, first update, seeking collection of flowers and votes. Concubine? Heir? Robin has been on the run since the age of 8 and is now 19. She has survived in various places for a full 11 years and believes she has experienced a lot. But, upon hearing Uchiha Madara's words, she couldn't help but feel a little panicked. Brother. Zhao Xu frowned at the words. What's wrong? When a man grows up, he should get married, and when a woman grows up, she should get married. She has committed a crime in our hands. It's rare for her not to pay any price and just want to leave. Uchiha Madara narrowed his eyes, revealing a hint of fierceness. At this moment, Robin finally realized that the man in front of her was not someone she could negotiate with. I think love and such things should still depend on one's own will. Zhao Xu shook his head. It's okay. Love is love, and heirs are heirs. Uchiha Madara waved his hand. There are only you and me left in the Uchiha clan. Don't you want to revive the clan? Well, of course I do. Don't you think this woman is not pretty enough? Doesn't she meet your taste? Well, it's not that. Then listen to me. Uchiha Madara said without any room for disagreement. An elder brother is like a father. Why don't you two get it done now? As soon as these words came out, Robin's face turned red. What's going on? Why does it feel like she's being taken away by a rich landlord? Suppressing her younger brother first, Uchiha Madara turned his head to look at Robin again. Woman, your strength is not bad, and your figure is acceptable. You can barely match my younger brother. If you can really give birth to an heir for my Uchiha clan, I don't mind helping you with any wishes you have. Of course, if you refuse to comply to the death. Uchiha Madara sneered, then I'll grant your wish. What kind of granting is that? There's no need to say more, it's clear. Robin bit her lip. The situation changed too quickly, and even she found it a bit hard to accept. Advertisement but. If she could use Uchiha Madara's power to collect the historical text faster, would it be worth it? But she absolutely refuses to give up her body for it. She can sacrifice her life for the historical text, but not her body. As for giving birth to an heir, that's even a joke. But before she could grit her teeth and speak, Zhao Xu said, Brother, you're too domineering. I'm not like those celestial dragons who forcefully take away common women. How could I be like what you said? It seemed that mentioning the hatred towards celestial dragons, Uchiha Madara fell silent for a moment. What do you want to do then? Should we kill her? Uchiha Madara looked at Robin. Robin's heart tightened. Why kill her? We don't have any grudges against her. Zhao Xu shook his head. By the way, we just got something. Let her sell it first. I don't understand the market price anyway. As for the heir, let's talk about it later. He waved his hand and said, who knows, maybe we'll really start to like each other in the future. If we can't stand each other after spending some time together, then it can only be said that it's not meant to be. Uchiha Ban fell silent, and after a moment, he nodded. All right, you're my little brother, so I'll listen to you this time. Upon hearing these words, Robin finally breathed a sigh of relief. She couldn't help but give a grateful glance to Zhao Xu, who had helped her solve the situation. However, she didn't see the satisfaction in Zhao Xu's eyes. Indeed, having a disguise is convenient. In his previous life, Zhao Xu knew a term called Stockholm Syndrome. In reality, the reason for this phenomenon is that while one oppresses you, they also secretly give you certain benefits. Although Zhao Xu didn't have the intention of training Robin, with Uchiha Madara, the big boss, pressuring her from the front, and Zhao Xu comforting and consoling her from behind, it was easy for Robin to have the misconception that Zhao Xu is a good person, and Zhao Xu is on my side. Naturally, it was easy for her to develop feelings for him. Advertisement after all, Uchiha Madara himself had the attribute of being a Rokon, and was also fighting for the family, so it wasn't strange for him to say such things. Now that he had Robin, Zhao Xu felt relaxed. He took out the treasures he had stolen from the sky and the treasures from the ship of the Hurricane Brothers that he had just defeated, and took Robin to find a merchant to trade with. Robin's eyes almost popped out when she saw these treasures. There were too many. How could there be so many? Did you rob Marie-Joy? Oh, it seems they did attack Marie-Joy. Zhao Xu naturally took advantage of the opportunity and let Robin choose a treasure as a gift, but unfortunately, Robin was still very cautious and disciplined in her heart, so she ultimately didn't accept it. There's no need to say much about bargaining with the merchant. Women are naturally good at bargaining, and in front of the archaeologist Robin, there was no possibility of the treasures being undervalued by the merchant. In the end, they made a deal and gained 6.1 billion berries, far exceeding Zhao Xu's estimate of 5 billion. And this was still with a discount because it was pirate loot, and the Hannibal merchant wasn't very strong, so they couldn't offer much cash even if they joined forces. Zhao Xu squinted his eyes as the three of them walked on the road. Now, how do we exchange the money for devil fruits? Suddenly, Zhao Xu's pupils contracted, and then he made a small, inconspicuous move. Uchiha Madara's clone immediately stopped in his tracks, exuding a strong killing intent. Come out, do I still need to call you? Of course, not. A slightly hoarse voice sounded, and a man wearing a loose coat slowly walked out. When he took off his hat and coat, Robin, who was following behind, couldn't help but exclaim. Monkey D. Dragon? Chapter 48 Fudge the Dragon into Senju Hashirama. Second more please collect flowers tickets. Chapter 48. Tricking Dragon into becoming Senju Hashirama. Second update, please collect and give flowers. With his red patterned tattoo, sharp black short hair, and elongated eyes, there was a hint of sharpness in his gaze. The world's most dangerous criminal, Monkey D. Dragon. Dragon's voice was hoarse and magnetic. When I first heard that someone could rival the strength of 5 admirals, I thought the news was wrong. It seems that I was the one mistaken. He squinted his eyes, staring at Uchiha Madara. It was the first time. Even from such a distance, he was easily spotted. Robin's expression tightened. Dragon. This man was just as dangerous as Uchiha Madara. He grew stronger with his ideals of freedom, overthrowing dozens of kingdoms in succession, and becoming the #1 criminal of the world government. But there weren't many who had actually seen him. Does the Revolutionary Army have something to do with me? Uchiha Madara's voice remained proud as he calmly looked at Dragon's figure. Dragon raised an eyebrow and laughed. Nothing much, I just wanted to see what kind of person could make the Marines look foolish, unable to even figure out who stole the celestial gold from the sky. Celestial gold? Robin's face changed. So the thing she was smuggling was celestial gold. No wonder it could be sold at such a high price. And it was obvious why Dragon was here, among the merchants. Seemingly understanding Robin's thoughts, Dragon smiled and said, as revolutionaries, we also need funds. He was acknowledging Robin's thoughts. Advertisement. So, now that you've seen it for yourself, what do you want to do? Uchiha Madara asked calmly. Dragon smiled. Of course, I want to invite you brothers to join the revolution. He said candidly, you have a grudge against the celestial dragons, and the Revolutionary Army is also against them. From this perspective, we have a common language. Zhao Xu. Very well, another person fooled by Marine's information. But this was exactly what Zhao Xu had expected. Smiling, Dragon directly said, I want to invite you brothers to join the Revolutionary Army. In fact, Dragon had been paying attention to Uchiha Madara for a long time. Or rather, everyone on this sea would notice the man in front of them. Elusive, incredibly powerful, and suddenly rising. Dragon had already decided to win over Uchiha Madara, but now it had become Uchiha Madara and his brothers. That Zhao Xu is not weak either. Why hasn't Marine mentioned his strength? Dragon squinted his eyes. Although Zhao Xu's reaction speed was slightly slower than Uchiha Madara's, pretending, it was still much faster than the demon child next to him. Clearly, he had some strength. But why hadn't Marine mentioned his strength in their intelligence? Little did Dragon know, Marine's information about Zhao Xu was still at the stage when Zhao Xu first appeared and worked to buy Uchiha Madara's armor. A powerful individual who even needed to work to buy a suit of armor? Did such a person exist in the world of pirates? Advertisement? Facing Dragon's words, Uchiha Madara fell silent for a moment before saying, we brothers. Yes, Dragon nodded. Uchiha Madara fell silent for a moment and finally nodded. In the past, I had 5 brothers. In the past? Dragon and Robin were taken aback. Yes, now only Zhao Xu is left. The other brothers were torn apart when they were very young, Uchiha Madara said calmly, so no matter what happens, I will protect this brother. At any cost. The undeniable tone in his words revealed his determination. But to Dragon and Robin's ears, it automatically transformed into. Indeed, the Avenger Uchiha Madara has a great grudge against the celestial dragons. Yes, they regarded the people who killed Uchiha Madara's brothers as celestial dragons. Taking advantage of the situation, Dragon said, then you should join the Revolutionary Army. Our greatest goal is to overthrow the corrupt world ruled by the celestial dragons and ensure that every child can live in a safe and healthy environment. Uchiha Madara fell silent for a moment and finally nodded. Alright, I'll join. Dragon finally showed a smile. Beside them, Zhao Xu finally breathed a sigh of relief. Finally led Dragon onto the path of Senju Hashirama. Chapter 49 Revolutionary Army Headquarters Chapter 49 Revolutionary Army Headquarters, third update, please collect fresh flower tickets. From a certain perspective, Long and Senju Hashirama are quite similar. They are both leaders who establish new forces and both have a heart for ordinary people, constantly striving for their sake. Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama can be considered rivals and friends at the same time. It can be said that having a character similar to Senju Hashirama can greatly help Zhao Xu improve the authenticity of Uchiha Madara. Of course, Long and Senju Hashirama are completely different in specific details. After all, they are 2 different people, but it doesn't matter, Zhao Xu can guide him. The Sharingan itself has the ability to perceive and hypnotize. During Kakashi's battle against Zabuza, he deliberately guided Zabuza's mental activities. Although it is a bit dangerous to use genjutsu on Long, paying attention to the opponent's subtle movements, inferring their psychology, and making changes oneself to influence the opponent's words. The final result can still be achieved. In response to Uchiha Madara's statement, my brothers died when they were very young, Long naturally said, we revolutionaries must protect children. It's similar to the lines Senju Hashirama used when trying to win over Uchiha Madara back then. As a result, Uchiha Madara naturally joined in, fitting perfectly with his character. Naturally, the authenticity has greatly improved. Host: Zhao Xu. Character templates possessed: 1. Uchiha Madara, 74%. 2. Saitama, 63%. In a short period of time, with a small act, the authenticity has increased by 3%. This is quite difficult to achieve considering the current difficulty level. Advertisement: Zhao Xu looked at Uchiha Madara and Long, who had already decided to go to the Revolutionary Army headquarters, and shrugged. The bonds on Uchiha's side are basically complete, although some are a bit forced, but as for Saitama, Zhao Xu fell silent for a moment and shook his head. There's only one disciple, Genos, for the bonds, but where can I find a robot like him? As Zhao Xu, he could create one himself. After all, he had the Shirapath's machinery. But the problem is, Zhao Xu's older brother, Uchiha Madara, is a wanted criminal. How about making Frankie his disciple? Zhao Xu couldn't help but sink into deep thought. Baldigo, the island of white soil. It is an island full of yellow sand and scattered rocks, with very poor soil and sandstorms blowing all year round. The buildings here are mostly rooms that resemble caves or stone houses, giving the impression of a revolutionary base from a past life. However, as Zhao Xu and the others followed Long, they saw many residents living here, all with happy smiles on their faces. It seems like the people here are living a good life. Robin squinted his eyes and thought to himself. The land is barren, far inferior to other countries, but the smiles on people's faces and the meat in the baskets of housewives on the roadside prove the situation here. Obviously, the governance of the revolutionaries towards the people is much better than that of the aristocrats of the world government. Here is the base of the revolutionaries, as well as their stronghold. This time, he directly brought Uchiha Madara and the others who had just joined, and came here together. The scenery along the way seems to be proving to this revolutionary leader that what he said is not false, and this is indeed a place where children can gradually grow. As they walked all the way, they entered a building that resembled a kiln, and Long also showed a smile. Welcome to our revolutionary family. Advertisement. Robin squinted his eyes. Is this the legendary territory of the Revolutionary Army? It seems quite good. Leader. A person wearing headphones and a hat shaped like a dog came over. Who are they? Terry Gildo. This is Uchiha Madara. This is his younger brother Zhao Xu, and this one is the son of a demon. They have decided to join our revolutionary family. Long smiled and introduced. Uchiha Madara? The high-ranking officials around them all looked over. Uchiha Madara nodded slightly. He was not a gentle person to begin with, and he seemed somewhat arrogant. As a newly established political entity, the Revolutionary Army naturally has many high-ranking officials. For example, Terry Gildo, who asked the question, is the intelligence control officer of the Revolutionary Army base. In addition, there are the commanders of the Four-Sided Army and the G Army, and many other high-ranking officials. Most of the people present can be considered high-ranking officials, and they also gave face to the people Long brought, coming over to greet them. Unfortunately, although Uchiha Madara has a leader's temperament, his expression is terrifying and his character is arrogant. Even if he has a gentle heart, he will not easily show it. Naturally, it is difficult to have a good impression of him at first sight. This kind of thing can only be taken slowly in the future. As newcomers who have just joined the Revolutionary Army, Zhao Xu and the others naturally begin to learn the ideals of the revolutionaries. Just like during the War of Resistance, didn't our soldiers also have to learn the spirit of Marxism? It's just that. As Zhao Xu looked through the revolutionary ideals that Long had barely organized, the more he read, the more strange his expression became. Looking at what was written above, labor is the foundation of human society's existence and development. However, at present, people's productivity is being wasted by the aristocrats, which is an insult and denial of the people. People must first eat, drink, live, and dress before they can engage in politics, science, art, and so on. But the aristocrats are born to live off the exploitation of others, which is unreasonable. People are bound by the aristocrats in various ways and cannot obtain the freedom they desire. Chapter 50. I really didn't wear underwear. Chapter 50. It's really not wearing underwear. First update, please collect fresh flowers and tickets. Zhao Xu carefully looked at it and basically saw the things that Marquis Whiskers had. What kind of labor is means of production? Of course, the words summarized by Dragon General would definitely not use these terms from another world, but the general idea is the same. Upon closer inspection, the summarized ideology is also much simpler and more concise. This is a pirate version of old Marxism. Of course, Dragon General is much stronger than Marquis Whiskers. Although Marquis Whiskers has summarized a lot of things, he is only summarizing, while Dragon General has truly taken action and has already begun to shape the world government. Zhao Xu looked at the 2 or 3 pages of paper in his hand and couldn't help but touch his chin. Yes, only 2 or 3 pages. After all, pirates are all doers, and they don't pay much attention to ideology. It's all rough. But the things on these 2 or 3 pages of paper almost shook the enemy, the world government, to the point where even Robin felt despair. What's wrong? Can't you understand? Robin was beside him, smiling gently. Naturally, she also received a copy of Dragonism to watch. Although the text inside was difficult to read, it couldn't stump her as an archaeologist. But even she couldn't help but be amazed by the rich content inside. Even a bit envious. At least in that world, Ohara shouldn't have been destroyed. It's normal not to understand. In fact, many revolutionaries don't understand it very well, Dragon said with a light laugh. But the direction of our efforts is the same. We are all fighting for the revolution. Now, he was not only entertaining Uchiha Madara and Zhao Xu, but also Robin. After the destruction of Ohara, Robin had been constantly on the run, while also striving to find the true history and resist the world government. Dragon had once publicly praised Robin's actions, and the Revolutionary Army even called her the Lamp of Revolution. They had searched for her traces before, but unfortunately, they had only just met now. Advertisement, at least in the meeting hall just now, the attitude of the Revolutionary Army's high level towards Robin was better than the arrogant attitude of Uchiha Madara. However, looking at the smile on Robin's lips, Zhao Xu's mouth twitched. What do you think I am? I'm a man who has come out of the new century. What should Dragon and Robin do with their dragonism, show off? Zhao Xu made it clear that he didn't want to talk to them and threw a bunch of books like Mao Zedong Thought, Deng Xiaoping Theory, and Leninist Thought at Dragon and Robin. Zhao Xu spoke up and launched an attack. Dragon and Robin suffered fatal injuries, HP -9,999. How can the newly developed basic Marxisms withstand various ideologies developed on its foundation? Although Dragon can also create his own system, many aspects are still just ideas and not in-depth. For hostile politicians, it is easy to refute their system. But the answer Zhao Xu gave was flawless. Dragon was instantly stunned. He leaned on the table with both hands, his ears perked up, and Zhao Xu's words echoed in his mind. He seemed to see a brilliant path right in front of him. Even Robin couldn't help but open her mouth, full of astonishment. She was an archaeologist, and her understanding ability goes without saying. After seeing the concept of the dragon, she could understand its content at the first moment and even achieve a certain level of integration. But Zhao Xu, he had already started expanding on the concept of the dragon? And every sentence was so perfect. Who is this person? The dragon was overwhelmed by Zhao Xu, completely immersed in the theoretical research he provided, unable to extricate himself. Perhaps after a period of time, he would be able to summarize a set of new dragonism that conforms to the world view of pirates. Advertisement, but for now, he could only temporarily give Zhao Xu and the others the freedom to act and consider other things later. And Zhao Xu, with no care in the world, took Robin, his mistress, around. Although Baldigo Island itself had nothing interesting to see, as the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, there were still many curious things. For example, a girl with purple hair, wearing sunglasses and holding a flag, stood on a high place and shouted. You guys can't even do a mere 1,000 push-ups? If you can't even make this level of effort, how will you defeat the enemy? Do you want to watch your brothers and sisters continue to be humiliated by those noble scum? Tell me, what should we do, you worthless trash? The group of boys and girls below heard her words and seemed to be filled with a surge of power from somewhere in their bodies, shouting. Of course, we should continue training. Then, they started working hard, even though they were already covered in sweat, their push-ups were as fast as the wind. What's that? Robin squinted her eyes. The power of the Inspire fruit, Zhao Xu smiled. As long as the user waves the flag and shouts, they can unleash the hidden power within their body. That girl, who would later become the captain of the Revolutionary Army's East Army, Bello Betty. Of course, the main reason Zhao Xu remembered her limited appearances was when Bello Betty appeared, she wasn't wearing any underwear. Zhao Xu just confirmed it, she really wasn't wearing any. Chapter 51. Let me hug you for a while, and I will be encouraged. Chapter 51. Let me hold you for a while, and I will be inspired. Second update, please collect fresh flowers and tickets. Zhao Xu did not hide his figure and was naturally quickly noticed by Betty and others. Who are you? Betty held a big flag, frowned, and had a sense of vigilance in her eyes. Although the revolutionaries have developed for a considerable amount of time now, they are still considered a new force by the world government. From the perspective of organization, they are still a fledgling force. No matter the scope of influence, the depth of ideology, or the strength within the organization. From various perspectives, the current Revolutionary Army is far from being comparable to the future Revolutionary Army. After all, how old is Luffy now? The Revolutionary Army needs at least 10 years of cultivation, continuous replenishment of funds, and constant training of new recruits in order to have an increasingly greater influence. With a small force, the Marines and other forces could attack the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army at any time. It is inevitable for Betty to be vigilant. We are people who have just joined the Revolutionary Army. Do you know her? Robin, the light of revolution. Zhao Xu smiled and pointed to Robin beside him. He himself is not well known, but Robin has a bigger reputation within the Revolutionary Army. Robin rolled her eyes, but Betty's sense of vigilance dissipated a lot. Betty is not the future commander of the Eastern Army now. Judging from her appearance, she seems to be responsible for recruiting and training. With the ability of the Inspire fruit, it is actually very convenient to train recruits. The light of revolution. Betty glanced at Robin, then looked back at Zhao Xu. She always felt that the way this person was looking at her wasn't good. It's already late now, are you still continuing your training? Zhao Xu stretched lazily. Sweating all over, it doesn't smell good. When he said this, he was looking at Betty. Betty was wearing a red long-sleeved vest, with a tie around her neck and wearing gloves. Her clothes were open, revealing her snow-white skin in the center. She wore a long-tailed skirt on her lower body, with the front being particularly short and the back being particularly long, revealing her thighs in red boots. This is simply a non-mainstream little sister look, but her snow-white skin is covered in sweat. Advertisement quite a lot is exposed. The Revolutionary Army is the leader of the common people. How could we slack off in training? Betty's face sank. Since you are also a member of the Revolutionary Army, why don't you just train with me? Just right, during the training, she can teach this guy who can't control his eyes a lesson. Robin had a strange smile at the corner of her mouth. Betty is just a teenager now, how can she hide her thoughts in front of Robin? But, train Zhao Xu. Although Zhao Xu hasn't made many moves and his opponents are not particularly powerful experts, he is not someone you can train, right? What are you training? Zhao Xu smiled and didn't directly answer. Fishman Karate. Betty snorted and said, Fishman Karate is a unique skill of all fishmen or merfolk in the One Piece world, but humans can also practice it. There is a veteran Fishman Karate instructor in the Revolutionary Army, Haku. Although his actual strength is not particularly strong, he selflessly imparts the essence of Fishman Karate, allowing the descendants of the Revolutionary Army to be no weaker than the world government. Alright, then I'll give it a try and learn as well, Zhao Xu smiled. Fishman Karate is quite powerful, as demonstrated by Jinbei, one of the Shichibukai, who dominates the seas. Zhao Xu also wants to try and see if he can learn some new abilities in a way that is outside of the system. Give it a try. However, upon hearing Zhao Xu's casual words, Betty's forehead immediately showed a vein, her voice filled with anger. Alright, my training is very strict. The elementary school students below immediately started chattering. Oh no, the instructor is angry, that kid is going to be disciplined. Who let that kid underestimate our Fishman Karate? He deserves it. Fishman Karate can be said to be the revolutionary's secret technique, so naturally they're not pleased. However, advertisement, let's start training like this. Oh, can I also use your ability to inspire the Gura Gura no Mi? Zhao Xu smiled. Alright, Betty coldly snorted, waving the flag in her hand. What's your name? Zhao Xu. Zhao Xu, you're already this old, yet you don't even understand the word effort, Betty coldly snorted. You've wasted so much time, now you have to make up for it. Even if it means staying up all night, you have to learn the basics. Upon hearing this, the students behind her looked at Zhao Xu with a hint of pity in their eyes. Fishman Karate is a difficult martial art, and you expect to learn the basics in just one night? What a joke. It's obvious that the instructor is just finding an excuse to scold that kid later. Betty waved the flag while speaking. With her words, an invisible force seemed to surge in Zhao Xu's heart. And then it disappeared. It seems that the Gura Gura no Mi doesn't have much use for someone at my level. Zhao Xu squinted his eyes. With just a few words, he could exhaust those students in training, but it had almost no effect on him. This is normal. If the Gura Gura no Mi could affect anyone, that would be strange. However, it seems that your devil fruit ability is not enough, Zhao Xu smiled. Betty frowned, she had never encountered this situation before. But since the devil fruit ability is not enough, let's try some normal inspiration. Zhao Xu blinked his eyes and smiled. For example, if you say that if I complete the basic training in one night, you'll let me hold you for a while. I will definitely be very inspired. Upon hearing this, Betty's face first turned red, then she immediately became angry. Alright, in return, if you can't complete it, don't blame me for not being polite. Alright, no problem. Zhao Xu revealed a gentle smile, with the pattern of the Sharingan appearing in his eyes. Alright, you demonstrate it first. Chapter 52 The dragon recognizes Zhao Xu as his teacher. The third change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 52. Dragon recognizes Zhao Xu as his master. Third update, seeking collection of fresh flower votes. How is this possible? Betty, along with a group of students, stared blankly at Zhao Xu. Just now, he flawlessly performed Fishman Karate, not to mention how perfect it was, but it was exactly the same as Betty's demonstration. There was not a single mistake. Although it was only the basics and not difficult to learn, he only glanced at it. The corners of Zhao Xu's mouth curled up. The Sharingan already had the ability to enhance observation, and the Mangekyo Sharingan enhanced it even further. By now, he could already use the Rinnegan, so what was copying a basic Fishman Karate to him? You must have learned it in advance, right? Right? Betty immediately exclaimed in embarrassment. Their bet. How is that possible? Zhao Xu shrugged. I just joined the revolutionaries, and I had never seen Fishman Karate before. Then how did you learn it? Probably because I'm smart. Betty. This answer left her speechless. In fact, she could also understand that her Fishman Karate, although she could teach it to others, was not perfect. At least Haku's performance was much better than hers. And every move Zhao Xu made was exactly the same as hers. How could he have learned it in advance? But if you were to say he was smart, alright, I don't believe you can learn anything else in an instant. Betty's face turned red with anger as she shouted. Oh, then please continue teaching. Zhao Xu blinked. Half an hour later. How is this possible? Betty collapsed to the ground in a daze, her eyes staring blankly. From the basics of fishman karate to advanced techniques, and even the top-level martial arts that Betty had mastered. Advertisement everything was emptied out by Zhao Xu in this half hour. And everything was done so perfectly, as if Betty herself was performing these moves. So amazing, he just started learning, right? He learned fishman karate in such a short time? The group of kids below were filled with excitement. There was even a little girl who stood up excitedly and said, "Big brother, can you teach us fishman karate?" "Who are you?" Zhao Xu squinted his eyes, feeling a bit familiar with the little girl in front of him. "My name is Koala. Can you teach us fishman karate?" Koala's eyes sparkled. If the person in front of them taught, it must be better than Betty, who was emptied out in half an hour, right? "Sure, I will teach you all generously." Zhao Xu showed a gentle smile, "But first, please fulfill your instructor's promise." Betty's body stiffened, and then she heard a group of kids below suddenly become excited, cheering together. "Hug one! Hug one! Hug one! I." Betty blushed and subconsciously took a step back. But the man in front of her was getting closer. In the following period of time, Dragon continued to study the theories given by Zhao Xu, while Zhao Xu himself had no work to do and leisurely stayed at the Revolutionary Army headquarters. Every day, he would go out to teach the recruits of the Revolutionary Army and casually tease their instructor. Gradually, he became familiar with that group of brats, especially Koala. Of course, there was also Betty. Uchiha Madara remained silent for a while. It was estimated that the higher-ups of the Revolutionary Army were not as familiar with him as they were with Zhao Xu. Advertisement after all, Uchiha Madara had an arrogant personality. What could Zhao Xu do? Zhao Xu was also helpless. About 10 days passed like this, and Dragon finally came out of seclusion. After coming out, he went straight to Zhao Xu and Uchiha Madara's residence. However, when he saw Zhao Xu, he had a wry smile on his face and couldn't speak for a long time. "What's wrong?" Zhao Xu asked curiously. "It's nothing." Dragon shook his head and let out a sigh. After Zhao Xu took out those things, Dragon had been pondering until now, and he had gained many insights. Perfect guiding ideology, grand development concepts, accurate understanding of human nature, clear and reasonable descriptions of various classes. Almost no modifications were needed to serve as the main principles of the Revolutionary Army and overthrow the country. Confidently, he had tried to find errors in Zhao Xu's words, to find areas that could be considered and modified. But in the end, apart from minor differences in their understanding of martial arts, he couldn't find a single mistake. He had worked hard for more than 10 years, only to be easily defeated by a casual remark from someone. Fortunately, Dragon had a broad mind, otherwise an ordinary person would probably go crazy. Taking a deep breath, Dragon stood up and then bowed to Zhao Xu. "Huh? What are you doing?" Zhao Xu asked curiously. "It's nothing. I just hope that you, sir, will continue to guide the Revolutionary Army," Dragon said in a deep voice. But Robin, who was beside them, widened her eyes. The bow just now was a gesture of respect. Dragon actually recognized Zhao Xu as his master? Chapter 53. Kuina is in the warehouse. Chapter 53. Kuina in the warehouse, 4th update, seeking flower tickets for collection. Robin was shocked on the side, but Zhao Xu had no reaction at all, because he had no idea what Dragon's bow meant. He was unfamiliar with this etiquette. Moreover, he didn't pay much attention to it and let Dragon complete this ritual. So, as the next step, "Teacher, what do you think about the current situation of our revolutionaries?" Dragon spoke in a low voice, leaving Zhao Xu utterly confused. Fortunately, Robin was perceptive and understood Zhao Xu's lack of common knowledge. She quietly pulled him aside and whispered a few words in his ear. And then Zhao Xu became even more confused. Dragon became a disciple? Just now? And I didn't refuse this etiquette, so does that mean I've accepted him as my disciple? So now I am Dragon's master? Don't people in your pirate world inform in advance when they become disciples? Of course, this master is not the kind of mentor who imparts knowledge and skills, but more like the ancient concept of a mentor. The political system proposed by Dragon is just a more perfect version of yours, a modification rather than guidance from start to finish. But he is still a teacher. Teacher, what do you think we should do next in the Revolutionary Army? Dragon asked eagerly. There are many strong individuals in the Revolutionary Army, Dragon, Bear, the transvestite King Ivankov. But only Dragon plays with this ideological manifesto and determines the direction of the organization. Now that there is an additional teacher, he naturally wants to seek some advice and experience. Ah, Zhao Xu was utterly confused. I only know about the little girls and little boys in the Revolutionary Army. What do you want me to say? So he could only respond, how about we continue like this for now? I see, continue to hide ourselves, accumulate strength, and find the weaknesses of the world government, right? Dragon, who knows what he was imagining, muttered, truly a teacher. Advertisement Zhao Xu. He realized that Dragon, who was originally very reliable, seemed to have changed after being influenced by his knowledge of the mustache. The Revolutionary Army's power is far from being as strong as it was when the plot started 10 years later. Although they have many strong individuals, they lack a sufficient number of lower-level members and influence, making them weak in the long run. And now, the Revolutionary Army is facing a shortage of resources. Lack of funds, lack of personnel, lack of everything. Zhao Xu took the opportunity to hope to exchange the gold coins in his hand for devil fruits. Unfortunately, the Revolutionary Army's power was still weak and they couldn't offer precious fruits. They needed to cultivate new recruits, and the remaining fruits were not enough to exchange for all of Zhao Xu's funds. In the end, Zhao Xu spent 1 billion berries to buy 5 devil fruits, emptying the Revolutionary Army's treasury. Of course, the devil fruits on the Revolutionary Army's side couldn't be the lowest grade ones worth 100 million berries. Although they weren't top-notch, the average purchase price was only 200 million berries each, which was quite a discount for Zhao Xu. The main task of the Revolutionary Army is still to overthrow the world government. Perhaps I should find another way to obtain devil fruits. Zhao Xu squinted his eyes. Marine definitely has devil fruits, but unfortunately Saitama doesn't have much reason to ask for or exchange them. As for the others, he doesn't know any major merchant characters. Although there are some people in the Revolutionary Army who have connections with merchants, like the one who informed Dragon of Uchiha Madara's location. But in reality, the merchants the Revolutionary Army contacts are just small-time merchants. It was a joint effort of several big merchants and small merchants to secure the trade with Uchiha Madara. The Revolutionary Army is actually quite poor. Among the people Zhao Xu knows, the only one who can deal with devil fruits is Doflamingo. This guy can even create artificial devil fruits. But unfortunately, Zhao Xu himself sent this guy to Impel down, where he is currently keeping company with the warden Magellan. For now, he can only continue carrying the money. But it seems that the Revolutionary Army is a bit poor. They happen to trade with Zhao Xu and obtain some money, so they plan to replenish their food supplies. Advertisement: the place they are going to is a place Zhao Xu is familiar with. Shimotsuki Village. Shimotsuki Village is located in East Blue and is a peaceful little town. It is said that the name of the village is related to Shimotsuki Yasui, the former daimyo who served the Kazuki family in Wano country, but it is not known if it is true. Uchiha Madara and the others followed Dragon to Shimotsuki Village and easily found Koshiro, the owner of the Shimotsuki Village dojo. Long time no see. Dragon's voice carried a hint of emotion. Yeah, are you here to prepare provisions again? Koshiro also smiled. Dragon laughed, yes, but this time we plan to buy more. It can be seen that the two are quite familiar with each other. Zhao Xu also took a few more glances at Koshiro, although it was just a casual glance, he could sense a hidden sharpness from him. Obviously, this person is not as weak as everyone imagines. Who is this? Koshiro seemed to have noticed Zhao Xu's gaze and asked. My teacher, he has inspired me in many things. Dragon introduced with a smile. The two chatted and laughed, reminiscing about the past. Zhao Xu sat on the side and after a while, he didn't bother them anymore and decided to go out for a walk on his own. I wonder if Zoro is here now, but Kuina should be here, right? Narrowing his eyes, his perception expanded. In the next second, he found Kuina's location. In the warehouse? Chapter 54. Is it true that women cannot be the strongest in the world? Chapter 54. Can women really not become the strongest in the world? As usual, Kuina climbed up to the second floor of the warehouse. There was a very good whetstone here. Although knives were the mainstream weapons of the present era, they still needed maintenance, especially for better knives. The better the knife, the more time their owners needed to spend on maintenance. And Kuina herself was a lover of swords, and her sword was a genuine famous sword, the Wado Ichimonji. Found it? Kuina's eyes lit up. The whetstone that could sharpen the Wado Ichimonji was actually a rare treasure. This whetstone actually belonged to her father, Koshiro, but it should be okay to use it secretly, right? Carrying the heavy whetstone, Kuina was about to descend the ladder. Suddenly, she stepped on empty space, and the heavy whetstone pressed against her body as she fell. Not good. Kuina was not weak, but she was only an 11-year-old child. If this continued, she instinctively closed her eyes, and her mind went blank. Am I going to die? The next second, universal pull? A strange force appeared, grabbing Kuina's body out of thin air and pulling her to the side. Her whole body, along with the whetstone, was sucked away. Next, she felt a gentle embrace that helped stabilize her body. Phew. Luckily I made it in time. A magnetic voice, with a hint of relaxation. Kuina hesitated to open her eyes, but she saw a man in black clothes with a handsome face. Advertisement: he was holding her, with one hand also holding the whetstone to prevent it from falling and hitting him. Feeling the strong male presence, Kuina blushed and quickly broke free from his embrace, stepping back a few steps. Sorry. Zhao Xu smiled lightly. Are you okay? The one who made the move just now was none other than Zhao Xu. I'm fine. Thank you for saving me. Kuina quickly bowed, as her upbringing was strict. It's nothing. Zhao Xu smiled. But next time, be more careful. For example, you could install a ladder here. Is Koshiro's family really that poor? Kuina's face turned slightly red, unsure if it was because she had been too close to a man's body just now or for some other reason. Zhao Xu spoke casually, but there was a sense of relief in his eyes. Lucky. If he hadn't arrived in time, they would have held Kuina's funeral. Are you a friend of my father? Kuina curiously asked. Sort of, although we just met today. Zhao Xu shrugged. I'm Zhao Xu, here to accompany someone to buy food. Oh, you're Mr. Long. Kuina suddenly realized. Long had come to the Ichimonji dojo to buy food more than once, and Kuina was familiar with him. But, wasn't it a person with a big face who used to come to buy food before? Oh, she's on maternity leave recently and busy giving birth. Is that so? Yeah, that's probably it. After blackening the Demon King, the two were chatting when suddenly a figure approached. Uchiha Madara, brother. Zhao Xu smiled lightly. Uchiha Madara nodded, then looked at Kuina. Go to the dojo, your father is calling you. Advertisement. The dojo was not far from here, but it was not close either. It seems that Koshiro's observation hockey is not weak. Kuina was stunned for a moment, her eyes filled with a hint of sadness. Obviously, she was about to be scolded. It would take some time for the revolutionaries to gather enough food, so it seemed that they would need to stay at Koshiro's place for 2 or 3 days. But Long was in a good mood now. Although Koshiro was one of the few supporters of the revolutionaries, they still needed money to buy food from him. It seemed that because Zhao Xu had saved his daughter's life, he planned to give them a good discount. Zhao Xu didn't feel anything about this. After returning to the dojo, Koshiro expressed his gratitude to him for a long time. But for him, being thanked by a big man was nothing special. Kuina is probably being scolded right now. She almost died, so it would be strange if her parents didn't scold her. But this kind of family matter was not something Long and Zhao Xu could intervene in, nor did they have the right to intervene. Zhao Xu also had no intention of getting involved in other people's family disputes. He was standing on the beach, leisurely watching the coastline. The sea seemed to be something that could never be seen enough. Zhao Xu suddenly looked up and saw someone beside him. Kuina's eye sockets were filled with tears as she walked step by step towards him. Until she saw Zhao Xu, she hesitated for a moment and sat down next to him. She didn't say a word, and Zhao Xu didn't speak either. They sat like this for who knows how long, until Kuina finally said something. Hey, Zhao Xu. Is it true that women can't become the strongest in the world? Chapter 55. Let him talk better than me. Second, more please collect flowers. Chapter 55. Let him speak after being stronger than me. Second update, please collect fresh flower tickets. In fact, just now, Kuina was scolded by Koshiro again. This is not a big deal, after all, I did something dangerous, so being scolded a few times is expected. But, when Koshiro learned that I almost got into danger because I wanted to use a whetstone, he immediately became furious and blurted out many words. Among them was, women can never become the strongest in the world. The other words don't matter, but this sentence. Kuina bit her lip. In fact, this kind of conversation had happened countless times between the two father and daughter before. Even Kuina herself knew that female swordsmen had a major flaw. Strength. In terms of strength, female swordsmen can never compare to males. Swordsmanship is martial arts, and strength cannot match that of males. How much skill does a woman need to be stronger than a man in order to compensate for this? This is an inherent deficiency, a difficult hurdle to overcome. But after seeing Zhao Xu's figure, she couldn't help but ask. Is it true that women can never become the strongest in the world? And Zhao Xu answered without hesitation, of course women can become the strongest in the world. It took Kuina 3 minutes to understand Zhao Xu's meaning. It's not that Zhao Xu's words were difficult to understand, but what does he mean? Does he really think that women can become number 1 in the world? Kuina's mind became a mess, murmuring and repeating Zhao Xu's words, women can become the strongest in the world. But soon, her murmurs turned into a bitter smile. How is that possible? Kuina smiled bitterly and whispered, the strength of women can't compare to that of men. You may not know, but in the dojo, I had a match with a boy. Originally, I completely overwhelmed him, but advertisement, now, he is constantly catching up to me. She was talking about Zoro. Although so far, Zoro is far from being on par with Kuina. Even when Kuina and Zoro spar with real swords, there is still room for mercy. But Zoro is constantly catching up. This pursuit is putting pressure even on Kuina. Kuina instinctively touched her chest, which has started to develop and gradually become bigger. Not to mention the impact of the extra fat on swordsmanship, the crucial point is that women start to become weaker than boys at this age. Who said it's impossible? Zhao Xu asked strangely instead. My father, Kuina said with a bitter smile. He is just narrow-minded, Zhao Xu said without hesitation. He has never seen a true female powerhouse, that's why he would say such things. Narrow-minded? Although Koshiro is not an exceptionally strong man, he is still a swordsman. Kuina pouted and asked, then do you know any female powerhouses? Auntie. Zhao Xu looked at her with surprise. The 4 emperors of New World, their strength is so formidable that even the Marines cannot defeat them. They're invincible and renowned throughout the seas, haven't you heard? Oh, right, she also uses a sword. Shuangjiao Napoleon is both a hat and a sword. She also learned some swordsmanship from the giants. With her full power, wiping out a city is not a big problem. But she's not the strongest in the world. Kuina naturally knew about the widely known 4 emperors, but in the eyes of everyone, Charlotte Linlin's strength is still not on par with Whitebeard, Kaido, and others. The reason? Is it because Charlotte Linlin is a woman? Actually, that's exactly the reason. Prejudice can be found everywhere in society. However, I have seen the strongest woman in the world. Zhao Xu thought for a moment and said, the method she left behind calculated my brother, Uchiha Madara. It's not an exaggeration to say that she is the strongest woman. Kaguya-hime. The final boss of the Hokage, a rare woman who occupies the highest point of martial strength and becomes the ultimate enemy of the protagonist. Advertisement, are you sure she's the strongest in the world? Kuina frowned her pretty eyebrows. She had heard of the Uchiha clan in the news, and they were indeed very strong. But is someone stronger than Uchiha Madara the strongest in the world? Kuina grew up hearing the phrase, women can never become the strongest, and although she always forced herself not to believe it, deep down, she couldn't help but be influenced to some extent. Yeah, I'm sure. Zhao Xu smiled. Actually, the strongest in the world is a woman. At least in the world of pirates, are there any men stronger than Kaguya-hime? But seeing Kuina still wearing a somewhat skeptical expression, Zhao Xu stood up with a light laugh, no longer explaining, but instead said. Kuina, the strongest in the world is not determined by evaluation, but by killing. But even if it's evaluation, only the strong have the qualifications to evaluate who is the strongest, so. The next moment, his chakra suddenly erupted. Dark blue chakra soared into the sky. Bones, muscles, armor. To Kuina's astonishment, a giant the size of a small mountain appeared out of thin air. Complete Susanoo. Kuina, if anyone says in front of you that women can't become the strongest, you tell them. The giant suddenly drew his sword, and then a resolute sword aura slashed out. Boom. The sea was split open by that sword, revealing a dried-up riverbed underground. The riverbed was at least 30 meters wide, and its length was beyond sight. After a full 10 seconds, the water on both sides finally roared and closed again. Zhao Xu's chakra slowly dissipated from his body. He smiled, lightly saying. You tell them to surpass me first before saying such things. Chapter 56 The Third Character Template. The third change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 56 Third Character Template. Third update, please collect and give flowers. Koshiro noticed that his daughter seemed to have suddenly become more confident. This was strange, considering that she had initially tried her best to prove herself to him after he had once said that women can never become the strongest. But as she grew older and Zoro came into the picture, Kuina gradually became more subdued. It was clear that she knew the weaknesses of a female swordsman. But now, it seemed like she had returned to being the strong-willed daughter she once was. Why was she like this? Oh, right. His daughter had asked him if she could split the sea with a single sword. What a joke, who could do that? And then, there was a hint of disdain in her eyes, as if saying, so this is all you're capable of? You said women can't become the strongest? Just as he finished scolding her, he immediately regretted and even worried if he had been too harsh. Before he could think of what to say to comfort his daughter, she gave him that look. Indeed, a daughter's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Koshiro exclaimed, a sentiment often felt by men. Zoro was also very curious. He had just fought with Kuina, but of course, it ended in defeat. But, Kuina's sword seems even sharper. Little boy Zoro furrowed his brow. At his age, he didn't understand much, but if it were him in the future, he would definitely use the most accurate words to describe what he felt. Advertisement, in her sword, there is no confusion. The transaction proceeded as usual. This time, Koshiro gave a big discount, making Dragon even happier and willing to pay more money to purchase more provisions. Although Dragon had a cold and aloof leadership style. But there was no choice, the Revolutionary Army still needed to eat. As a new force, it really needed help from all sides to grow. The gains from this time could greatly benefit the Revolutionary Army for a long time. Of course, this had little to do with Zhao Xu. What really concerned him was, congratulations, host, for unlocking the third character template. Third character template? Zhao Xu squinted his eyes and glanced at his system. The first template, Uchiha Madara, now had a realism rating of 74%, and the second template, Saitama, had a realism rating of 67%. Although Uchiha Madara faced the high-ranking members of the Revolutionary Army, he lacked opportunities to showcase himself. But Saitama had consecutively hunted down many pirates, putting on a more thorough performance and increasing his realism rating by a full 4%, and even his fame had gradually grown. However, from this, it could be seen that there didn't seem to be any specific requirements for unlocking a new character template. Last time, Uchiha Madara had a realism rating of 65%, and this time it was 67%, completely different numbers, and the time interval was also uncertain, so it shouldn't matter. Was it all luck? There were pros and cons to this. The advantage was that if there was a person that Zhao Xu didn't want to play, such as a transvestite, a woman, or a gay person, even if he didn't play the role, he could wait patiently over time and eventually get the next character. Advertisement otherwise, if the system gave Zhao Xu a gay character, would he play it or not? If he didn't play it, then he could forget about obtaining a new character template. Playing it, he couldn't get past this hurdle in his heart. Even if he could use a clone to play the role, he couldn't accept it. But there were also disadvantages, such as not being able to control the appearance of the new template, which could cause some trouble. Of course, compared to the advantages, this disadvantage was nothing. But, Looking at the name on the system interface, Zhao Xu's pupils contracted. The second template is actually him. This character is quite interesting. Zhao Xu revealed a smile. To let a new character appear, he needed a good stage. Coincidentally, he also wanted to obtain a larger devil fruit, and that stage could provide him with a lot of help. Perhaps, he could even establish a stable source of devil fruit acquisition. So, Zhao Xu formed hand seals with both hands, and his body grew wooden, gradually transforming into the appearance of Zhao Xu and Uchiha Madara. Let's begin. Chapter 57 Miscellaneous Repairs. The fourth change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 57. Miscellaneous Cultivation, fourth update, seeking collection of fresh flower votes. Impel Down, also known as the Great Prison of the Deep Sea. It is the world's #1 prison, located in the calm belt of the first half of the Grand Line. Security is extremely tight, and only certain marine ships are allowed to enter and exit. The prison is built entirely underwater and has a tower-like structure, surrounded by countless giant sea kings, earning it the nickname, Copper-Walled Ironclad. The prison guards here are not worried about any prisoners escaping because there is enough power to suppress all prisoners in this prison. The chief warden, Magellan, is as powerful as a marine admiral. The head jailer, Shiryu, is no less formidable than Magellan. In addition, there are numerous capable jailers, surveillance den mushi bugs spread throughout the prison, ever-watchful surveillance guards, and 6 levels of cells for various types of prisoners. Although recently there have been some troublesome escaped prisoners, it's nothing more than that. As for escaping, who can escape besides Golden Lion? Where is the chief warden? Vice Chief Warden Hanayabal asked. The deputy head jailer next to him replied, he's in the bathroom. He's still having diarrhea. Really, how can someone like him hold the position of chief warden? I hope he quickly gives up his seat as chief warden. Vice Chief Warden, calm down. Nothing is going to happen anyway. That's right. When has anything ever happened at Impel Down? Golden Lion 10 years ago. But since then, Impel Down has been reinforced countless times. Even the Golden Lion from back then couldn't escape. So Hanayabal just shrugged and didn't say much, however. Boom. A tremendous shockwave came, and Impel Down shook several times. What's going on? An earthquake? The two were startled, but before they could think much, they heard a message from the surveillance room. Report to the Vice Chief Warden, there's an enemy invasion. What? Hanayabal was taken aback and quickly grabbed a den mushi bug, shouting, what's going on? Who is invading? We're not sure either, it's someone not on the wanted list. Is he attacking Impel Down? Where is he now? What about the fleet outside Impel Down? Order them to counterattack. Advertisement, the fleet has been completely wiped out. He has already invaded the 3rd underground level, Starvation Hell. Oh no, he has now blasted through the floor of the 3rd underground level and landed in the 4th level, Blazing Hell. What? Hanayabal's face was full of astonishment. Impel Down is divided into 6 levels, and the more dangerous the prisoner, the deeper they are placed. The 3rd underground level is where the most dangerous criminals with bounties exceeding 50 million berries are held, and the 4th underground level is even more dangerous. It's only been a short while, from the shaking of Impel Down to the invasion of the 4th underground level. Less than 5 minutes in total. Soon, within just a minute, Hanayabal heard that the intruder had penetrated into the 5th underground level, Freezing Hell. In an instant, Hanayabal also felt as if he were in freezing hell, bone-chilling cold. Who is it? How could he break into the 5th level in just a few minutes? Does he still want to continue going down? The 6th underground level, Eternal Hell. The prisoners here are all formidable individuals, either sentenced to death or lifelong imprisonment. The prisoners held here are monsters among pirates, either erased from history due to their extreme viciousness or near legendary figures. Their fate is either death or lifelong imprisonment. Due to the heinous acts committed by the prisoners on this level, some of which are beyond cruelty, the government has covered up these events, deliberately concealing them even from the newspapers. The Golden Lion of the past was imprisoned on the 6th underground floor. If the prisoners here were released. In an instant, Hanayabal shuddered and shouted, quick, go inform the warden. In reality, just as Hanayabal had thought, the invaders had indeed infiltrated the 6th underground floor. So this is it. A man clad in shining golden armor, with a proud expression. Interesting, interesting. In the future, I can turn my country's prison into something like this. The prisoners on the 6th underground floor cannot be simply described as ferocious. Unlike the various punishments above, these guys are so dangerous that even the guards dare not impose punishments on them, because if something goes wrong, someone will immediately escape. Countless fierce and dangerous auras permeate the 6th underground floor, and an ordinary person would go insane within 3 days at most. However, this man walks here as if he were in a bustling market. The dangerous prisoners on the 6th underground floor also notice the approaching figure. Who? Isn't that Magellan? He actually came to the 6th underground floor. What was that shaking just now? Advertisement. Whoever it is, hey, kid, release me, or I'll kill you right now. Yes, open the doors for me, and I'll protect you from now on. I'll even go on a rampage with you. Ah, I miss the taste of the women in East Blue. Ha ha ha, what taste can women have? They all taste the same, like human flesh. Kid, release me quickly. The arrogant words, the twisted and chilling feeling, madness to the point of being pathological. Just as they were listening to those disrespectful words, a cold voice rang out. A group of crawling insects on the ground. Who allowed you crawling insects to raise your heads? Cold words, a proud tone. But before the unruly prisoners could speak, the next second, ripples suddenly appeared behind the man in golden armor. Elegant, sharp, and unrestrained shapes. Different forms of knives, guns, swords, and halberds emerged from those ripples. And then, like cannonballs, they blasted towards the surrounding prisoners. Boom. 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 Those differently shaped weapons almost instantly severed the prison doors and blasted onto the prisoners. In an instant, blood flowed everywhere. It is your honor to die in the treasures collected by me, the man in golden armor said calmly, his words filled with a sense of entitlement. As if it were meant to be. A hint of horror flashed in the eyes of the surrounding prisoners. This guy actually acted without hesitation. And when he acted, those powerhouses died directly. Who is he, exactly? The man in golden armor walked over with large strides, passing by one prison cell after another, and finally arrived at a relatively clean cell compared to the others. The prisoner looked up upon hearing the sound. You must be Doflamingo, the man in golden armor said proudly. Hee. It's me. And who are you? Doflamingo let out his signature laughter, but his eyes were full of vigilance. Who is this guy, exactly? However, the answer he received was. How dare you ask for my name? You lowly scum. Chapter 58 Doflamingo surrenders. The first is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 58. Doflamingo submits. First update, please collect and give flowers. The Hero King, Gilgamesh, is Zhao Xu's third template. From the Fate series, his true identity is the fifth king of the city-state of Uruk, an ancient civilization in the Mesopotamian region. He is the protagonist of the oldest epic poem in human history, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the oldest, Hero King. He possesses a divinity that is 2/3 god and 1/3 human. In the entire Fate series, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he is the strongest heroic spirit. Ordinary heroic spirits are no match for him. If he were to fight seriously, he would be an invincible servant, and the war would end overnight. He wears golden armor, has golden hair and red eyes, a slender figure, and exudes a unique aura. His face is cold, and his expression is incredibly arrogant. He looks down at Doflamingo with his red eyes. Doflamingo furrows his brows. As a celestial dragon, he has faced many challenges since childhood, but being called a B**************** D to his face. This is the first time. However, he must be here to find me. Doflamingo, after all, is a remarkable person and naturally sees through the other's intentions. Sure enough, Gilgamesh speaks next. I heard that you, a lowly scum, dare to sell my treasures? Your treasures? Doflamingo is a bit confused. All the treasures in this world belong to me, such as devil fruits. Gilgamesh narrows his eyes. Doflamingo. Naturally, he sells devil fruits, and he even keeps some good abilities specifically for his subordinates to use. Advertisement so, this person found me selling devil fruits and came looking for me? But, devil fruits are treasures of the sea. When did they become yours? Doflamingo couldn't help but speak. A foolish question, Gilgamesh sneers arrogantly. When the world was still one, weren't all treasures owned by a single king? His tone is as if it's a matter of course, a natural statement. Even Doflamingo, who was once a celestial dragon, is dumbfounded. Although celestial dragons are already quite arrogant, it seems that they are no match for this man's pride. You say that all those treasures are yours. Do you even know what devil fruits are? Doflamingo asks, dumbfounded. Although there are devil fruit catalogs in the world, there are still quite a few devil fruits that have not been discovered. This person. However, Gilgamesh says confidently, the total value of my possessions has exceeded my comprehension. As long as it is a treasure, it must be mine. That is clear. All the treasures in this world will naturally belong to me. No matter how precious a devil fruit is, it is unbearable for those lowly scums to snatch them from each other without my permission. His tone is unwavering, as if he truly believes that those pirates, bounty hunters, and others are trying to snatch his treasures. Gilgamesh's eyes fall on Doflamingo. Scum, you are one of those who dared to snatch my treasures. But if you submit to me, I will temporarily forgive your disrespect. Advertisement, I'll give you 10 seconds to consider, to worship me, to submit to me, or die. Upon hearing this, Doflamingo squints his eyes. He is a celestial dragon, but his power has not yet reached the level where he can control everything underground and have some connections with the higher-ups of the celestial dragons. When he was captured by Saitama, although some of his subordinates survived because they did not participate in the operation, such as Monet and Sugar, Doflamingo knows that those people do not have the ability to rescue him from Impel down. They lack the ability, connections, and even wealth. Moreover, since the establishment of Impel down, has anyone ever escaped? Only one person, Golden Lion. Doflamingo is arrogant, but he never arrogantly believes that he is stronger than Golden Lion. Not to mention that since Golden Lion's escape, Impel down has been rebuilt, with strength and security. Even if Golden Lion were to return, he would never be able to escape. So, Doflamingo looks at the man in golden armor before him and slightly lowers his head. I submit. Chapter 59 You just need to appreciate the majesty of this king. Second more please collect flowers tickets. Chapter 59. You just need to appreciate the majesty of this king. Second update, please collect fresh flower tickets. Crack. The incredibly sturdy seastone gate was cut by a sword. Doflamingo revealed his signature smile and walked out of the prison with his unique stride. He was also a hero, so Zhao Xu naturally wouldn't easily believe that he would submit. But it didn't matter. At worst, he would just kill him. Zhao Xu had the confidence to do so. Although the new template was not yet perfect, his combat power was weaker compared to Saitama and others. But the Fate/Stay Night world was not known for boasting about destructive power like destroying planets. In this world, the focus was more on rules. For example, the mystic eyes of death perception. As long as they were used properly, even if the realism was relatively low, they could still achieve remarkable results. At the very least, killing a Doflamingo was not particularly difficult. If worse came to worst, he could ask Saitama to take action and kill Doflamingo. Doflamingo himself wouldn't easily submit, but after looking around, he slightly bowed to Gilgamesh, saying, "Greetings, my king." This place was still the deep-sea prison. Even if he wanted to rebel, he had to escape first before rebelling. He was a sensible person and wouldn't easily initiate a rebellion. Gilgamesh nodded arrogantly. Very well, then follow this king. Feel honored, lowly servant, to have this king, who should be admired, standing on this land beneath the sea surface. Wait, my king. Doflamingo grinned and looked at the other prisoners in the prison. We are all prisoners. Why don't we release them and break out together? Doflamingo didn't care about how to escape from outside the deep-sea prison. His title as the Heavenly Yaksha was not a joke. As long as there was sky, he could leave directly. But breaking out of the 6th level of the prison and seeing the blue sky. Advertisement there was someone in the deep-sea prison. Magellan. With his power to suppress the 6th level of the prison and kill any prisoner here, he was difficult to deal with. It would be better to find some cannon fodder and break out together. Gilgamesh's response to this was, do as you please. Doflamingo was a capable person. Without hesitation, he used escape as bait to make an agreement with the prisoners to obey his commands. Then, before Magellan and Shiryu appeared, he led the prisoners to break out of the 6th level and move towards the 5th level, 4th level. While releasing prisoners and gathering the elites among them, he also searched for his subordinates. Young master, have you finally saved me? Yora smiled on her face. He. We can roam the seas again. Trebo laughed. Break out of the deep-sea prison. Gladius's hair swelled as if it were angry. These people were all captured by Saitama and sent to the deep-sea prison. Now returning to Doflamingo's subordinates is only natural. However, he's just watching like this. Watching me gather my subordinates? Doflamingo glanced discreetly at Gilgamesh standing on a rooftop, a hint of confusion flashing in his eyes. Rarely does he not know that he is constantly increasing his power, and he might rebel at any time. Does he really believe in the nominal submission? Or does he know that I have ulterior motives and doesn't care? Doflamingo fell silent for a moment and continued to command the prisoners to move forward. There are many guards in Impel down, and many of them are powerful, but compared to the strong ones on the 6th and 5th levels underground, they are much weaker. The prisoners continued to advance, their actions incredibly swift. Of course, there were also reasons why the chief guards withdrew the forces from the lower levels and concentrated them to avoid unnecessary sacrifices. Soon, the prisoners encountered obstacles on the 3rd level. Because advertisement Magellan has arrived. None of you can escape. Magellan snorted coldly and suddenly spewed out. Venomous blowfish. A large number of venomous balls were sprayed out, like bombs exploding. Countless prisoners were poisoned and let out cries of pain. Magellan's poison is deadly unless the antidote in the prison is used. In an instant, the scene turned into a hellish nightmare. Magellan himself has a peculiar appearance, like a demon. In this situation, he is truly a demon. The venom fruit? It's a bit troublesome. Doflamingo's eyes flashed with seriousness. The ability of the venom fruit user allows them to produce deep purple venom from any part of their body, including sweat, saliva, breath, and even sighs, all of which are toxic gas. Its venom can paralyze nerves, cause pain or hallucinations, and even cause death. The strength of the venom is also enough to dissolve rocks with a single strike. Even touching it would be fatal. This is definitely one of the most dangerous abilities. Even Doflamingo himself wouldn't dare to personally experience this poison. So, my king, what should your subordinates do? Doflamingo smiled and looked at Gilgamesh standing at the highest point. After all, your subordinates are just miscellaneous cultivators. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Do you think you can make me, Doflamingo, your subordinate so easily? But if you take back the words, miscellaneous cultivators, and subordinates, I, Heavenly Yaksha, can also fight alongside you. However, Gilgamesh just glanced at him disdainfully. Since you are my king's subordinate, let me give you an order first. Since you are a miscellaneous cultivator, just show yourself as one. When you still don't understand the principles of everything, just appreciate the majesty of your king. Chapter 60 The oldest and strongest king in human history. The third change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 60. the oldest and strongest king in human history. Third update, please collect fresh flowers and votes. Since you're a miscellaneous cultivator, show me your true colors as a miscellaneous cultivator. As long as you appreciate the majesty of this king as a ruler, even if you don't understand the principles of all things. Doflamingo's originally smiling face instantly turned dark. But he was also a cunning strategist, remaining silent and taking a few steps back. I want to see what you can do. Doflamingo was internally furious, but his gaze remained fixed on Gilgamesh. This person is too mysterious. Suddenly appearing and charging all the way into Impel down, his strength must not be weak. Unfortunately, Doflamingo had never heard of this person before. Even now, he still hasn't revealed his identity. Perfect, now let's see his strength. On the other side, Magellan's gaze was also fixed on Gilgamesh. Is this the person who invaded my Impel down? Suddenly barging in, making it all the way to the bottom, releasing numerous prisoners, causing a riot in the lowest level of the prison. Impel Down's reputation was almost ruined by this person. If they wanted to maintain this reputation, there was only one way. Kill this person. The next second, Magellan's eyes sharpened. But the next second, Gilgamesh, with a disdainful gaze, directly spoke. Who allowed you to look at this king, you miscellaneous cultivator? Buzzing. Ripples shimmered behind Gilgamesh. Various weapons, such as knives, guns, swords, and halberds, emerged from the golden ripples behind him. Elegant, sharp, unrestrained. Each weapon carried an unparalleled uniqueness, as if it harbored a certain will. What is this? Magellan's expression changed. If it weren't for his clear mind, he would have felt that each weapon was an extremely precious treasure, an unparalleled great swift blade. Advertisement, but it's not just knives here, moreover. When I saw the 5 elders before, that unparalleled great swift blade didn't have the formidable aura of these weapons. It's here again, the same move. Doflamingo's pupils contracted. When Gilgamesh first appeared, he effortlessly killed the criminals on the 6th level of the prison with this move. It should be noted that although the criminals on the 6th level varied in strength, even the weakest among them were powerful individuals with bounties exceeding 1 billion. And the stronger ones, however, whether it was these strong individuals or the seastone-made prison gates, they were powerless against these weapons. Gilgamesh crossed his arms, not even sparing a glance at Magellan. At least use your dying appearance to please this king, miscellaneous cultivator. The next second, bang, 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 several weapons were suddenly launched. The sound of breaking through the air was piercing, and the sharp blades were surrounded by the coldest glimmers. Boom. 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 A violent explosion instantly engulfed Magellan. Is he dead? Countless prisoners instinctively looked towards Magellan. Compared to the relatively average strength of the vice wardens, Magellan was the true powerhouse supporting Impel down. Of course, there was also Shiryu, but in the next second. Poison dragon. Roar. A purple dragon roared and howled. Gilgamesh leapt in an instant, and in the next second, the dragon fiercely pounced on the cell he was standing on. In the sight of everyone, the cell was corroded by the poison, visible to the naked eye. A deadly poison that kills upon contact. At this moment, the storm subsided, revealing Magellan with his hollow body, elementalized. When attacking, it was a poison that no one dared to touch. Advertisement when defending, it was a flowing elemental body. Tricky. Exceptionally tricky. Doflamingo squinted his eyes, even he didn't want to fight against such an opponent. It was precisely because of this that Magellan could become the warden of Impel down. His strength was definitely not inferior to an admiral. If the enemy relied on physical attacks, he might even be stronger than an admiral. I see, although you are a hybrid, judging from your appearance, you are also a renowned warrior, but... Gilgamesh raised his eyebrows, a hint of anger flashing in his eyes. To dare to let this king, who should be revered, stand on the same ground as you, this disrespect deserves death. In the next second, behind him, ripples suddenly expanded. Originally, there were only about 10 weapons, but in an instant, they expanded to nearly 100. Doflamingo's face slightly changed. He had seen the power of that weapon just now, which was definitely hundreds of times stronger than a battleship's bombardment. However, now, the number had unexpectedly. Magellan's face also changed. He didn't know if the enemy would use hockey. If they did, he had to elementalize in advance and form a hollow to dodge the hockey-infused weapons coming at him. But this kind of attack, it was definitely not something that could be easily dodged. Who are you? Magellan's venom kept dripping, and 3 huge poison dragons formed behind him. I have never heard of someone like you. Why did you come to my Impel down? Never heard of this king? Gilgamesh snorted coldly. Bathed in the glory of receiving an audience with this king, yet claiming not to recognize this king's face, this crime deserves death. But since you are also a renowned warrior, I will cleanse my ears and listen to you. Gilgamesh's golden hair fluttered, his handsome appearance, sword-like eyebrows, exuding an unparalleled heroism. I am the hero King Gilgamesh, the oldest and strongest king in human history. Chapter 61 Elementalization failed. The 4th change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 61 Elemental transformation failure. 4th update, please collect flowers and votes. In human history, the oldest and strongest king. Magellan stared blankly, while Doflamingo frowned. King naturally refers to a monarch, but the oldest king. Are they celestial dragons? In the world of pirates, that's the only thing they can think of. But there is no name like Gilgamesh among the celestial dragons. Especially Doflamingo, due to his identity, is very familiar with the celestial dragons. He is very clear. Among the recorded names of the celestial dragons, including those who died in the past 800 years, there is no name like Gilgamesh. Could it be the king before the celestial dragons? Doflamingo furrowed his brows. 800 years ago, the ancestors of the celestial dragons, 20 kings, established the world government. But they called themselves kings, so the title of king must have existed before that. If this man claims to be the oldest king, it means he lived 800 years ago, or even longer. Ordinary people might think they are being fooled. But Doflamingo fell into a deeper suspicion. Could it be that he used the op-op fruit to undergo an eternal youth surgery and gained immortality? The strongest ability of the op-op fruit, if used by someone with sufficient talent, can grant eternal life to humans. However, the side effect is that the user will die once the surgery is performed. An ancient immortal, sealed until now due to reasons like being frozen. If that's the case, it's no wonder he keeps saying things like, "All the treasures are mine." Because those are the words often spoken by the celestial dragons, who also have royal blood. This speculation is reasonable and well-founded. If Zhao Xu really knew, he would definitely give Doflamingo a title like Best Brainstorming Award. Of course, Magellan doesn't have such an ultimate brainstorming ability like Doflamingo, and he is not very familiar with the abilities of the op-op fruit. Advertisement so. The oldest king? Magellan snorted coldly and the poison dragon roared behind him. Who are you trying to fool? Gilgamesh frowned, showing a hint of anger. King, there is no falsehood. Perhaps I have been too kind to you, which led to some wrong understanding. Don't be so self-righteous, commoner. The next second, countless weapons roared and shot out. The so-called noble phantasms are the ultimate weapons praised in the legends of heroic spirits, materialized miracles, the proof of heroes held by heroic spirits. They are the crystallization of human desires for miracles, known as the noble phantasm, the strongest weapons. Each of them possesses a power that modern magicians can only dream of, and once used, they will exhibit effects like those in legends. Gilgamesh possesses a sword in the shape of a key that leads to the Golden City. It is connected to the space of the treasure vault and can freely retrieve the treasures stored within. The level of the items in the treasure vault ranges from E to A++. In other words, the treasures of kings, collecting all the treasures in the world, is Gilgamesh's catchphrase, but it is not just a metaphor, it is the truth. Gilgamesh collected all the prototypes of technology that emerged in his era and made them his own. It is more accurate to say that it is the original source of human wisdom, rather than a treasure hoarded by Gilgamesh himself. After being used, the noble phantasms that were thrown out quickly returned to Gilgamesh's treasury, because within the treasury, there are excellent noble phantasms for retrieval. This is his greatest ability, and also his strongest ability. Except for extraterrestrial products, all treasures can be found in Gilgamesh's treasury. The deadly weapons that can be used by heroic spirits are almost abundant in Gilgamesh's treasury. Boom. 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 The explosion, 10 times stronger than before, almost shook the entire Impel down. Where Magellan was, there was a loud rumbling, as if the heavy rock floor had collapsed and blasted into the next level. However, don't you have hockey? Suddenly, Magellan's voice sounded, and his body, riddled with holes, also walked out of the smoke and appeared in front of everyone with his steps. But his voice didn't change. Advertisement Magellan squinted his eyes, thinking that he was dead from that blow just now. The attack was extremely fast, the power was immense, and the number of attacks was numerous, almost impossible to defend against. Those weapons seemed overly sharp. Just didn't expect that those weapons seemed completely unable to penetrate the elementalized body, and he was completely unharmed? He is a formidable enemy, but it seems he doesn't have hockey. Magellan squinted his eyes, his body constantly recovering. If someone like Shiryu were to come, he would definitely not be his match. But he took a big step forward, his body fully restored, his gaze extremely sharp. Gilgamesh, without hockey in a body with demon fruit power, you cannot break it, surrender. The next second, a poisonous dragon condensed and roared out. Doflamingo's eyes flashed with seriousness. It seems that there is a disadvantage in compatibility. It's a pity, this guy named Gilgamesh is clearly quite powerful. However, hockey? Gilgamesh showed a disdainful smile. This king doesn't need such a thing. Bang! A long spear suddenly shot out from the treasure behind him. Magellan narrowed his eyes. It's the same attack as before, no need to dodge. Poochie. Blood flowed. Magellan widened his eyes, looking at the spear stuck in his arm. Did the elementalization just fail? Chapter 62 Breakout of Impel Down. The first is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 62. Breaking out of Impel Down. First update, seeking collection of fresh flower votes. In reality, Gilgamesh only has 3 noble phantasms. The first is the all-knowing and almighty star, Shah Nagba Imaru, in his childhood state. The second is the king's cannon, Melamu Dingir, in his caster form, and the third is the king's treasure, Gate of Babylon, in his adult form. Note. Some people also say there are 4, with the fourth being the key to unlocking the king's treasure, the separation of heaven and Earthstar, Enuma Elish, but it can also be considered part of the king's treasure. Only these three noble phantasms. However, the king's treasure allows him to possess almost countless noble phantasms. All existing noble phantasms can be stored in his treasury and shot out like arrows. This is also the origin of his initial position as an archer, the king of heroes. The entire process of activating the king's treasure only consumes a minimal amount of magical energy, with the actual usage of magical energy being only the amount needed to start the king's treasure. But the resulting power is immense, because the one causing the greatest attack is the noble phantasm itself. This is also the reason why he, as an archer, has mediocre stats but is hailed as the strongest. The Crimson Rose of Exorcism, Guy Deard, although it is nothing in my treasury, its power is still passable. Gilgamesh sneered, do you really think that some elemental transformation can stop me? The devil fruit is already my treasure. Who gave you the illusion that with my things, you can defeat me? The Crimson Rose of Exorcism, Guy Deard, comes from the Gaelic mythology and is the weapon of the hero Diarmuid Uadwivni. It is a sharp spear that can nullify defenses made of magical energy. Its attacks are particularly effective against armors made of magical energy, causing all magical enhancements and additional abilities applied to the armor to lose their effects upon contact with the spear. In the world of pirates, it seems to also possess the ability to nullify devil fruits. Because he has the prototypes of all noble phantasms, he can exploit the weaknesses of any enemy, which is why Gilgamesh can have an advantage in most battles. Even if he doesn't like close combat, with the combination of his noble phantasms, armor, and various weapons, he can still deal with opponents in close combat. That's why he is the strongest. With low consumption and no flaws, the more enemies he faces, the more he can unleash the power of the king's treasure. Advertisement: this is a presence that can seriously end a war in just one night. Gilgamesh's eyes flickered. In the next second, countless noble phantasms suddenly blasted out. Not good. Magellan's face changed. The spear inserted into his body made it impossible for him to use elemental transformation. He couldn't even release his usual attacks, let alone elemental transformation. He hurriedly tried to pull out the spear, but in the next second, several noble phantasms rained down and blasted towards him. The prisoners behind him changed their expressions, looking at the man shining with golden light with a hint of fear in their eyes. Magellan, who possessed admiral-level strength and could single-handedly suppress the most dangerous prisoners, Magellan, who had guarded Impel down for nearly 10 years. But that man defeated him easily without even lifting a finger. Doflamingo also secretly swallowed his saliva. Magellan's abilities, even among admiral-level individuals, were quite troublesome. But now, before, I joined him as his subordinate with the intention of escaping from Impel down once I had the chance. But can I really turn against someone like him? Saitama, Uchiha Madara, and now there's another one, this Gilgamesh. There are so many powerful individuals in this world. Doflamingo gathered himself, took a deep breath, and shouted, charge. Magellan has been defeated, who else can stop us from breaking out of Impel down? Others also realized this and revealed a sinister smile. Kill, Gladius roared. Break free, Senor Pink shouted. Follow the young master, Yora also yelled. Advertisement. Just as Doflamingo said, after Magellan's defeat, there was no one else who could possibly stop the countless prisoners. Hannibal couldn't, Domino couldn't, and the prison guards couldn't. Shiryu of the Rain could, but this chief prison guard ended up following Gilgamesh instead. He had been imprisoned by Magellan multiple times for excessive killing of prisoners, and this time it was the rioting prisoners who set him free. It's too boring staying in Impel down, it's more interesting to follow you guys. Shiryu touched his sword and revealed a smile. And so, the ranks of the prisoners expanded once again. Of course, Impel down is the largest, strongest, and most secure prison. Although they couldn't stop the prisoners in terms of strength, they did have a response. For example, Vice Warden Hannibal made a decisive decision to order the warships around Impel down to move thousands of miles away and seek assistance from the Marines. Impel down is located in the calm belt of the Grand Line, surrounded by the nests of giant sea kings. This is not a place where you can escape just by swimming. But unfortunately, it was meaningless in front of the numerous abilities possessed by the prisoners. Doflamingo flew directly to a warship and took one back. Other prisoners also had the ability to fly, bringing back a total of 3 warships. 3 warships, of course, couldn't take all the prisoners. So Doflamingo made a selection and further recruited many strong individuals. For example, the future Blackbeard Pirates member, Great Sake, Vasco Shot, the giant battleship, Sanyuan Wolf, and the Black Moon Hunter, Katarina Devon. As for the evil king, Avalo Pizarro, when he introduced himself, he was killed by Gilgamesh with the words, "You insignificant rat who ignores the existence of this king and calls yourself a king, you don't deserve to live in this world." In the end, the 3 warships carried numerous pirates, evacuated from Impel down, and broke through the gates of justice. The world trembled once again. Chapter 63 5 Elders shocked. Second more please collect flowers tickets. Chapter 63. 5 Elders shocked. Second update, please collect fresh flowers and votes. Naval Headquarters, Marshal's Office. What? Impel down has been breached. A large number of prisoners have escaped. Sengoku was dumbfounded, listening to this explosive news. Impel Down has had prisoners escape before, but who were they? Golden Lion, captain of the flying pirate crew, a man who was once on par with Goldie Roger and Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. But even he only managed to escape by himself, and now a large number of prisoners have escaped. Warden Magellan is seriously injured and has yet to regain consciousness. The most crucial thing is that a large number of prisoners have now all fled to the sea. This is trouble. Garp also showed a hint of seriousness. Level 6 contains quite a number of heinous criminals, all with considerable strength. Any one of them could create huge waves on the sea. And now, a large group has escaped in one go. Gilgamesh. Sengoku muttered this name, squinting his eyes. Who is that? Garp asked curiously, the mastermind behind this prisoner escape. Ah. Garp was also taken aback, then his expression became serious. There are many people with formidable strength in this sea. He had never heard of someone like Gilgamesh. Generally, people with extremely strong abilities often have some fame. Because it is difficult to obtain formidable strength without experiencing real battles, and through those battles, one's reputation naturally spreads. Although this cannot be said to be an ironclad rule, it is mostly true. However, Uchiha Madara from some time ago completely broke this rule. Defeating an admiral, breaking through the encirclement, and now there are even rumors of him being close to the revolutionary army. Advertisement, and now, there is another Gilgamesh. A man who can defeat an admiral-level combatant and forcefully break into Impel Down. Fortunately, there are many people who aspire to justice. Garp breathed a sigh of relief. Saitama is not much weaker than them either. Upon hearing this, Sengoku's expression also improved somewhat. Yes, Saitama is not weaker than you guys. Justice still holds great power. I remember Saitama has already captured more than a dozen powerful individuals with bounties exceeding 1 billion. Garp took out a senbei, nibbling on it as he spoke. Sengoku nodded heavily. Yes, he is the rising star of the Marines. He will be back soon. I plan to have him come back for a while. That brat Zephyr is always worried that I will impose some restrictions on him, so he has been hesitant to decide on the new Vice Admiral. HMPH, how could I do such a thing? But after the Gate of Justice, there is a special sea current that only allows them to exit through Eni's lobby in Naval Headquarters. There is no other possibility. Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief, looking at the photo of Gilgamesh that came from Impel Down. We still have hope. We can still catch them. In reality, even if this group of pirates hasn't broken through the Gate of Justice yet, the world has once again been shaken. Doflamingo on the run? Bartolomeo on the run? The massive warship San Juan Wolf on the run? The mysterious hunter Katarina Dopung on the run? These once famous powerhouses, whose reputations gradually faded after being captured by the Marines, are about to reappear in this sea. Countless newspapers and news outlets are writing with the most vivid ink. The sea is about to be in chaos again, countless pirates breaking out of prison. This mysterious man is causing the world to fall into chaos once more. All pirates, bounty hunters, and Marines are paying attention, but not saying much. Recently, this sea has become chaotic. First, Uchiha Madara caused a commotion in Marijoy, then defeated 5 admirals in a joint battle, and then the Marine supernova Saitama appeared, arresting pirates on a large scale. Compared to those two, what Gilgamesh did wasn't that big. Impel Down has been imprisoning prisoners for decades, with a large number of them being powerful. If all these prisoners were to be released, the level of danger in the entire sea would instantly rise. Advertisement, but that is only if they can escape through the gates of justice, break through Eni's lobby, or naval headquarters. The Marines are not being polite either, directly guaranteeing in the news that they will never let them escape. At the same time, they are arranging a large number of forces to be stationed at naval headquarters in Eni's lobby. They have not yet broken through the true iron wall, so it has not caused much of a shock at the moment. But that doesn't mean that no one is shocked by this. Marijoy. Gilgamesh. The King of Heroes? Have you heard of this name? I haven't heard of it. It doesn't seem to be a king from our ancestors' time. But he claims to be the oldest king. I have ordered people to search for our hidden history, but we still haven't found anything. There is no history before the establishment of the world government? No. In an incredibly luxurious room, 5 elderly men with snow-white hair couldn't help but squint their eyes. The 5 elders. The highest leaders of the world government. The pillars of the world government. Their status is higher than that of the commander-in-chief of the world government. At the same time, they are the descendants of the 20 kings who founded the world government. Celestial dragons. They watched the images transmitted from Impel Down, especially the proud look on Gilgamesh's face when he said, the oldest and strongest king in human history, and couldn't help but fall into silence. What if? I mean, what if? What if what he said is true? The 5 elders fell into silence. After who knows how long, someone finally spoke again. Let's go see Lord I Am. Before that, order the Marines to be prepared. We must not let these people break through the gates of justice. Especially that Gilgamesh. Chapter 64. No one is qualified to make this king detour. Chapter 64. No one is qualified to make me take a detour. Third update, please collect fresh flowers and votes. Meanwhile, on the Marine battleship that the prisoners had taken over. Judicial Island, Naval Headquarters. We must choose between these two. Doflamingo squinted his eyes as he looked at the map he had snatched from the marine battleship. Enies Lobby, Naval Headquarters, and Impel Down were all located in a peculiar sea current. The world government had spent a huge amount of money to establish a massive gate among the three, which affected the sea current. Unless the gate of justice was open to disrupt the sea current, it would endlessly circle among the three, never able to escape. Enies Lobby and Naval Headquarters were still connected to the outside world. But Impel Down was completely sealed within the comm belt. Before the Marines developed ships that could navigate the comm belt, it was practically a death trap. Even now, it was still a death trap. The ships from Impel Down couldn't navigate the comm belt. That was one of the reasons why Impel Down was known as an iron wall. When coming out of Impel Down, the prisoners had the advantage and could easily open the gate of justice to escape by boat. But when going out, throughout history, only one person had escaped from Impel Down, Golden Lion. But Golden Lion was a user of the lion fruit ability and could naturally fly, so he didn't need to forcefully break through the gate of justice. However, for the people present, Doflamingo's gaze turned to the surrounding prisoners. He could fly, so he didn't need to worry, but his abilities were limited. He could escape on his own, but not with his subordinates. However, how did he manage to reach Impel Down? Doflamingo looked at Gilgamesh. Could it be that he also has the ability to fly? Advertisement him, it turned out he did. The treasure of the king, Vimana. The royal throne held by Gilgamesh, a radiant boat made of gold and emerald that could soar through the sky. Powered by a solar crystal fueled by mercury, it could fly at high speeds, defying the laws of physics. It had powerful attack capabilities, equipped with various treasures and even ancient nuclear warheads. Of course, it was out of the question for Gilgamesh to fly with others. Although Vimana could accommodate them, how could the king allow his subordinates to ride? Young master, where should we break through? Trafalgar Law asked. Doflamingo withdrew his gaze from the map and looked at Gilgamesh. Oh, my king, where should we break through? His voice carried a hint of arrogance. Since they were outside, it meant he had obtained his freedom. Naturally, he also had some confidence. At the same time, there was also some hostility towards this king in his heart. The gazes of the surrounding prisoners also turned towards Gilgamesh. Although Doflamingo had recruited some subordinates during their escape, many strong individuals were unwilling to serve under a prisoner. Everyone was a prisoner, and you were also someone else's subordinate. Why should we listen to you? Especially Shiryu, who directly stated, I will only follow interesting men, and refused Doflamingo's request to serve him. As a result, most of the prisoners from the 5th and 4th levels followed Doflamingo. But the people from the 6th level, at least nominally, served under Gilgamesh. As for the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st levels, sorry, they were too weak and hardly had the qualifications to board the ship. But now, regardless of who it was, they all looked at Gilgamesh, ready to listen to his words. Advertisement, whether it was the pirates who served Doflamingo or the strong fighters from the 6th level, they all did the same. Gilgamesh stood on the highest observation deck of the battleship, lowering his gaze as if he was looking at something. And then, Mongrel, which is the first gate we will pass through. Doflamingo was momentarily stunned before realizing that Gilgamesh was calling him. He furrowed his brows and answered, Naval Headquarters. Oh, Gilgamesh nodded. Then let's break through from there. No one is qualified to make me take a detour. Break through from Naval Headquarters? That was the place with the strongest world government forces. The surrounding pirates instantly changed their expressions. Doflamingo's face also changed slightly. As a celestial dragon, he naturally knew what the celestial dragons were thinking. Breakthrough from Naval Headquarters? Did he even know that above Naval Headquarters was the headquarters of the world government? But before he could speak, he suddenly heard a hearty laughter. Interesting, interesting, truly interesting. Shiryu laughed heartily, gripping his famous sword, Ryu. Indeed, only by following you can such interesting things happen. Naval Headquarters. I've been wanting to break through there for a long time, Bacchus Bosco, drunk and hiccuping, said with a boozy breath. Doflamingo's expression kept changing, and in the end, he gritted his teeth. I don't care what happens anymore. Chapter 65 Sengoku's Wrath. The 4th change is to collect flowers tickets. Chapter 65. Sengoku's Fury. Requesting collection of fresh flower votes for the 4th update. There are only 2 exits if one wants to completely escape. The Naval Headquarters and Enies Lobby. It goes without saying that the Naval Headquarters is an area heavily guarded. With the Fleet Admiral and Admirals stationed there on a regular basis, it is extremely secure. The problem lies with Enies Lobby. Enies Lobby is under the jurisdiction of the world government, and the Marines cannot easily intervene. Although Enies Lobby has a formidable defense, it is still not reliable when facing the escaped prisoners from Impel Down. Therefore, Sengoku, without hesitation, opened the gates of justice and dispatched a fleet carrying Admiral Akainu to support Enies Lobby. This is a risky move, as there is a possibility that prisoners may infiltrate the warships and escape while the gates of justice are open. Of course, the likelihood is small. Because Impel Down reported quickly, although it eventually fell, it provided detailed reports. The Marines also acted swiftly, and the world government even sent reinforcements in the form of CP-0, led by one of the 5 elders. They accompanied Admiral Akainu to Enies Lobby to reinforce the defense. Not only that, but the Marines and the world government continue to mobilize their forces, gathering troops from the surrounding areas. Of course, the currents between Impel Down, the naval headquarters, and Enies Lobby are turbulent and can transport ships at an extraordinary speed, which used to be the fastest way for Marine reinforcements to arrive. But now, it also makes it difficult for our reinforcements to arrive, such as Rear Admiral Saitama from a distant location, who is unable to arrive in time. However, the current forces are already sufficient. Advertisement on Enies Lobby, there is Admiral Akainu and CP0, the direct subordinates of the Five Elders. At the naval headquarters, there are Admiral Kizaru, Admiral Aokiji, the hero Garp, and Sengoku. The Five Elders are rarely making a move. Do they have some purpose? Garp chuckled as he nibbled on a senbei. Who knows? Sengoku squinted his eyes and casually responded. Even CP0 has been mobilized. This is a rare big move. Garp smiled, his gaze profound. I feel like if it weren't for Uchiha Madara's previous threat to Marijoy, they would have mobilized the garrison there as well. What secrets does that person named Gilgamesh have? Sengoku didn't say anything, but silently agreed with Garp's words. The Five Elders definitely have some purpose, but for now, their unified enemy is this guy named Gilgamesh. They can discuss other matters later. The honor of the Marines and the world government is at stake here. After a moment of silence, Sengoku suddenly spoke. Garp, where do you think those prisoners will break out from? Probably Enies Lobby, right? Garp pondered and said, although the two locations are similar in terms of strength, our reputation is still intact. The Five Elders don't make many moves, but as someone from the Marines, Garp knows a little bit. The same goes for CP0. Although their reputation is not prominent, they are known as an intelligence agency. But in reality, no one at the higher levels can claim to have no knowledge of their true strength. That would be a joke. But the question is, can the prisoners know about the Marines' movements? No, they can't. This time, the Five Elders gave the direct order, and Sengoku personally supervised the operation. The level of secrecy is so high that even if there were spies among the higher-ups, they wouldn't have had the chance to leak it. And even if we don't consider the Marines' movements, just based on reputation. Can Enies Lobby compare to the naval headquarters? Can CP0 compare to the admirals? Advertisement as for the Five Elders? Has anyone ever seen them take action? That's a question? But Sengoku and Garp, they have earned their reputation through their actions. Although the two locations are similar in terms of strength, as long as there are rational people, they would mostly choose Enies Lobby as the breakthrough point. That's why the Five Elders personally stationed themselves there. However, report. Fleet Admiral Sengoku. A communication soldier rushed over with a panicked expression. Fleet Admiral Sengoku, 3 warships behind the gates of justice have lost contact. Sengoku instinctively stood up, his eyes filled with astonishment. Garp also paused for a moment, then burst into laughter. Interesting, interesting, they're coming straight for us. Sengoku suddenly clenched his fist and smashed it onto his desk. Bang! The desktop instantly shattered, abandoning the low reputation and inferior strength of the judicial island, but coming straight to our naval headquarters. Sengoku's usually serious face was filled with great anger. Let's go. Garp, follow me to the gates of justice. I want to see just how much they don't regard us Marines.